Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
Deep Chicago Bears Thoughts by Chris Armstrong.
I'm glad Matt Nagy's going to take advantage of Mitch Trubisky's talents and run more RPOs this year so that we can FTPU. Fuck the Packers up.
No NFL teams have played each other more than the Chicago Bears and Green Bay Packers.
Wow.
Bears fans ain't easy to love, and they're often quite bold.
Hey, baby! We're gonna be here all day!
They're often pessimistic and sometimes sadistic, watching it unfold.
I like this kind of party, baby!
Orange jerseys and hoodies fill up all the Sundays.
A heated matchup.
The life of a Bears fan is always full of hope, no matter if home or away.
We're gonna be here all day, baby!
Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be Packer fans.
I like this kind of party! I like this kind of party,
It's good girls and bad boys and everything between. Just don't let them wear that piss yellow and green. Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be Packer fans. There's good girls and bad girls and everything between. Just don't let them wear that piss yellow and green. Bears fans are loyal to stand by their team when they're losing.
I like this kind of party!
Defense linebackers, running backs performing at night.
Chicago Bears.
Some teams they don't like them, don't love them. Sometimes they can't take them. The Chicago Bears have been knocked down, always got up, ready to fight.
We're gonna be here all day, baby!
Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be Packer fans.
More minutes before the Bears start kicking some ass, huh?
Bad boys and everything between. Just don't let them wear that piss yellow and green. Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be Packer fans.
Few more minutes before the Bears start kicking some ass, huh?
Good girls and bad boys and everything between. Just don't let them wear that piss yellow and green.
Chicago Bears are going to win opening night.
Wow.
They will beat the Packers.
There's good girls and bad boys and everything between. Just don't let them wear that piss yellow and green.
It's piss yellow and green.
Don't let your babies grow up to be Packer fans. Everybody there's good girls and bad boys and everything between. Just don't let them wear that piss yellow and green.
It's piss yellow and green.
Mama, don't let your babies be Packer fans.
Go Bears!
It's the league's longest running rivalry. A heated matchup.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh. Yeah, yeah. Nah, nah, nah. A Bears ballroom, they're the ones that fight for truth. Bears are alive or 100 proof, even if the Bears win or lose. A Bears ballroom, they're the ones that fight for truth. Bears are alive or 100 proof, no matter if the Bears win or lose. Yo, first, the smartest man, no tweets, he's never missing impossible. The mission, call out frauds with precision. Our Bears 100 proof, these faces #1 is Zora. Slaying dumb tweets, cross-eyed like Control. Never one to back down to call a fraud a lemon. Wise Ram, no doubt, Miller's asterisk ending. Cheers, Bears fans. The fire Puerto Rican barkeeping for Chicagoland. He's the godfather, the one, the real producer. Always keeping the show together with the voice that will seduce us. Risking out a Firefox, the old timer never stops. stops. IPA, drafts, malts, crafts, barkeep takes the shots.
No deny.
Barflies appreciated worldwide. Canada, Scotland, England, Brazil, Mexico, and Dubai. Dr. Phil is the guy, the one to realize that the barroom needed a show with an endless shoot supply. Gone big coat fought the narrative on color, brought the Jasons of campaign for Mitchell. Now I'm the standing up for the truth. You know your boy's the little guy. These media heads won't give us credits up to the barflies. Flies. Fuck a fraud in his keyboard, Twitter tough guys surround us. Raining truth on the Bears worldwide, barflies astound us. This is the #1 pod, that's the reality of the truth. And if you don't know us by now, Bears 100 proof. A Bears barroom.
He has every tool you need to be a great rusher. Speed, power, length, athleticism, all of it. And he utilizes it all with all the tools he has.
He's a guy that I know doesn't take plays off, and he works his butt off. And to have that work ethic coupled with his talent level, special things happen.
I mean, I can't sugarcoat it. I mean, what Mack does to our defense, brings a whole new dynamic.
I mentioned the tweet before, it was my favorite tweet. Was that to Derek Carr that you responded to?
Yeah, it was to Derek Carr. Yeah, he said, said no way, and then I put way. Yeah, but
Cheers, Bears fans! This is Bears 100 Proof, and you just heard Leno, Long, and Amukamara talking about Khalil Mack, and we'll be talking about him too over this next 2 hours of Bears 100 Proof. My name is Aldo Gandia. I serve the drinks here, but don't you worry, the stars of our nightclub act are here. They are, of course, Shane, the smartest man in the barroom, Marsaw, and draft Dr. Philatoshin. On today's show, we're going to have fantasy football expert from Yahoo Sports, Liz Losa, and JJ Stankevitz, who covers the Chicago Bears for NBC Sports Chicago, and we are really looking forward to having both of those people on. But first, I want to get the temperature in the room from Shane and Phil. Shane, how are you, brother? Oops, I had a little audio difficulty there. Shane is busting my balls because of my cheers.
Shane. Yeah, just a little bit. I don't know. Maybe you run out of Blue Chew? You feeling a little bit wrong? That's what we've been waiting all off season for, brother. You got to get a little more hype.
I will work on it. I'll do a
step up your game, Gandia.
I'll do a transition. Cheers and edit it in. How's that?
There you go.
All right. So before I bring Phil in here, Shane, I got to ask you. Yesterday on Bears Hour Live, you weren't able to be on. And you did not have a chance to defend your 53-man roster prediction. Anything you want to say to start the show about the guys that you predicted would make the team, didn't make it? Anything you want to say about what the Bears did with their 53 that maybe upset you or pleased you?
Well, the elephant in the room is Mike Burton. we all know that, so I'm not going to bore everybody by rehashing the fullback that shouldn't be on this roster. The one that I was most pissed with myself was Nick Williams. I defended him on a previous show, said that he might push a guy like Jonathan Bullard off of the roster, which he didn't do that with Bullard, but I defended my man Nick Williams, and then I didn't include him on the 53 at the last minute for whatever reason. But if I had to do it over again, I would stick with my guns there a little bit more and look a little bit smarter than I did. But no, everything points back to Burton for me. I was obviously a little bit surprised by Cre'Von LeBlanc. I'm not so sure that this was all of his play that got him pushed off of the roster. I think that there might have been some other things. If you follow Cre'Von's Instagram account and stuff like that, it was never a good look for him. Not saying that played into it at all, but teams and upper management, and they follow everything. They know everything that's going on. So I don't think he gave himself the best shot And when you're talking about a third corner that's as fragile as Bryce Callahan has proven to be over the years, it's going to be real interesting. I mean, the guy that I think we got to all keep our eyes on, and what's going to happen with Kevin Tolliver. He's the real interesting guy there. But overall, I mean, DePhil and Danny, I don't think anybody had anything too crazy. I was really surprised that not one waiver claim. That I'm not saying that they didn't put them in, but they weren't awarded anybody, being a little bit lower. But that did surprise me. But Mike Burton, like I said, he was the biggest surprise, and still remains the biggest surprise. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they work him into the 46. Does he dress Sunday night?
Oh my God, if he does.
How can he? I agree, but nothing will surprise me.
I just don't get it. I know you're bringing up.
I don't either.
Bringing up my temperature as you're talking about it. It's just it's like I can't get away from this conspiracy. It's almost like I went to Fantasy Island and it was a big fucking joke.
Well, that's it's a great point, Phil. And I heard Hogan Johns speak to it. It was either today or yesterday, whenever their latest pod came out, and they were talking about Javon Wims versus Kevin White. Who's going to dress? And I'm like, well, they both. I think they dress them both. How do you sit? Just say if they decided to dress Mike
Burton, reading my mind now,
and didn't dress Javon Wims. To me, that's you're shooting yourself in the foot right off Jump Street. I mean, I know you can put him in there to help protect Mitch, but the guy can't block anity. So what's the next best thing?
I'm still trying to see him block somebody, even in pass pro.
I know.
I got a clip of him against Denver, and the linebacker's coming, and he waits. He catches, and he gets fucking pancaked over right into the quarterback. It's like, what is anybody seeing here?
He absorbs hits. He doesn't give them out.
Exactly. He's the opposite. He's the anti-fullback, Aldo. If there was like an opposite superhero, that's him. I'm like, I just am baffled by it. Just that it's just a chorus. Like, it's a chorus of football people I respect that are all shaking their heads. Even all of us at Bears Barroom, all of us coaches that I've talked to, does anybody think that he deserves that? I want to get that person on the air, because maybe we ask JJ.
Aldo.
I don't have no idea how. Sorry, go ahead.
Aldo, what's your take? Do you think that there's any chance that they don't want to ruffle any feathers with this being such a huge season for Trubisky? I mean, they're best friends by all counts. They're roommates. Do they not want to rock that boat at all? Which to me isn't a good. I mean, if Mitch is that fragile, that's a huge issue.
God, yeah, I was just gonna say.
But
let's teach him a life lesson.
Yeah.
Bye.
No,
we get a BG drop here.
I hear you, but it's baffling how they think that this guy can warrant a precious spot on the 53. To me, I don't understand it at all.
Shane, you said the nightmare that I'm having is a Javon Wims being pegged to not dress, and this guy goes out there and just plays like he always does, and it's terrible. And there's this opportunity. So God forbid any receiver gets hurt, but this guy's 6'4", an athlete. You've seen it. You can't make up what he did in preseason as if, he's not Marlon Brown that's been in the league for 4 years. This is a rookie who is an ascending football player who ascended from basketball into football to play at Georgia, for God's sake, to be their leading receiver and continue to ascend into making the NFL as a 7th round pick. Now you're seeing him in practice do what he did thanks to Greg Braggs Jr. You're seeing it in the scrimmages when it mattered most. There's nowhere to hide him. How about there's great drafting to find? I love when people, there's nowhere to hide him. He can't put him on the, why would you want? I mean, he proved himself. It's the ultimate reality show. You go out there, show me you could play this game. Your coach has preached this all, in the private inside interview with Jeff Joniak and behind the scenes with Coach Nagy now. And they ask him about being undrafted, and he gives you his answer. So, Shane, it would be mixed signals, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, if your best players aren't dressed in the biggest game of your life, Coach Nagy. Your first showcase in head coaching is with the Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football against that piss yellow and green. Don't let your babies grow up to be Packer fans, So I hope he's ready and he's on this, because that's my fear. Shane hit it right on the head. I said, watch, they're going to sit Javon Wims, and they're going to play and Mike Burton's going to be goddamn dressed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how are you taking just a potential target for Mitch off the field?
With a huge catch radius.
If you're going to dress Kevin White, we've seen how this plays out. He's got an issue not breaking. I'm being serious, so it is funny. The kid breaks bones. I mean, somebody falls on top of him, and things go boom. They break. You know what I mean? So then you're technically going to be down yet another weapon for Mitch if you don't dress Javon Wims. And it just, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think it's something that we will have to talk with JJ about when he comes on, and hopefully he doesn't give us the stock answer. Well, he's a guy, big body that can get in there and keep some bodies off of Mitch. Well, explain to me where that happens, JJ. I'm going to need some video of that because we don't see it. We have yet to see it. All we've heard is Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy and Mitch Trubisky tell us how wonderful this guy is and how important he is to the running back room. Well, he's not doing anything on the field.
Right. I haven't seen it on tape.
So,
it's like deplane. Boss deplane. Welcome to Fantasy Island.
And I got one,
Michael Burton.
I got one for you guys. It goes even beyond the whole Burton thing, because at this time of the year, all NFL head coaches are being second guessed by their players about who they decided to keep on the 53 and who they decided to release. And you better believe that there are some players who might hold grudges against the coaches because, hey, this guy is better than that guy. How come this guy was released and you got this asshole on the team? And I also have to wonder if some of the players who are delighted that Khalil Mack, this outstanding talent, is on the team, but are they also thinking, man, they gave that motherfucker a lot of money in my contract. They haven't even talked to my agent yet. I wonder, if that causes some tension in the locker room. And so this is a test for Matt Nagy to explain to his players why certain decisions were made and to get these guys to let go of any animosity that might...
That wasn't me.
Sorry, that was my dog. I'm trying to hit mute. You know how your phone goes to screensaver?
He's got crickets are getting big.
I'm like, what the hell? I can't get mute. My wife had to run over to get it.
I was taking a drink of beer and I almost spit it out. Almost.
She started digging. You know how labs, they have to dig. Dig. Here she goes. Look. She's digging her spot in a carpet like she's in some fucking dirt.
She found a cricket.
She's looking for a cricket.
Hey, before we bring JJ in here, I want to play a clip from the Adam Schefter podcast where he talks about this whole deal and how it got done with Khalil Mack. Adam was taking his son out to Michigan. This is a story he shares in a podcast, and I recommend you all go over to the ESPN's Podcast Center and download this particular episode, particularly just the first few minutes, because he tells the story a lot better than I will here, but I also got a clip. But he talks about he's taking his son to Michigan. He gets a call from an NFL general manager and says this Khalil Mack trade is happening. He is being moved somewhere. He calls another general manager and says, yeah, it's probably 60% going to happen. He's going somewhere. He talks to a third general manager. The third general manager says, yeah, this is going to happen. And so this is pretty much where he picks up the story here.
And I would say early that morning, roughly 2:30 a.m. or so, the Bears, I think, cemented their agreement with the Oakland Raiders. And they cemented the agreement, and part of that agreement was that the Bears were given until midnight on Saturday, midnight Saturday night, 11:59, to get a new contract done with Khalil Mack. And so word breaks Saturday morning on ESPN that the Bears and Raiders have an agreement in place to trade for Khalil Mack. And that's exactly what winds up happening. Because the truth of the matter is, once that comes out, the Bears have been charting Khalil Mack all summer long, dying to get him, so anxious to get him. And there's no way you could agree to a deal with the Raiders and then have it held up by not getting a deal done with Khalil Mack.
Isn't that amazing? The Bears,
unbelievable,
had their eyes set on Mack all summer long.
Smart.
Unbelievably smart. Yes.
It really is. And this is...
It shows. They knew.
Is. And where does this story sound familiar? Does this sound like the night and
Mitch
day
Trubisky?
Mitch Trubisky all over again. I mean, Ryan Pace, this is his thing. And this is something that all fans should remember. And this isn't I know we take many shots at Chicago media and all these guys, but you know what? Nobody fucking knows what Ryan Pace is doing except for Ryan Pace and maybe in this case, Matt Nagy, because he can trust Matt Nagy. John Fox didn't know because he didn't trust John Fox.
True.
His intentions are under lock and key the entire time. And when he feels that it's prudent to strike, he strikes with force. And he's going to knock you the fuck out and get the job done. And like I said, Adam Schefter.
Boy, yo, look at you.
Adam Schefter, saying that this deal was cemented and locked in place around 2:30 a.m. Phil, I think I called you, I don't know, was it like 20 after 8 or so? When I was just coming up out of the grocery
donut store, right? The donut shop. Some guy with I fuck for free. What is it?
I fuck on the first date. Yeah,
I fuck on the first date.
He was buying oatmeal at home, mixed breakfast. Happy birthday! But no, it's a testament to Ryan Pace that he's been with it this long, and he made the comment with, I believe it was with Jeff Joniak, that this has been something that they've been talking about internally every single day.
Throughout
training camp, throughout the summer. And I said, they found their guy, and I'm not sure if people realize how rare of an event that this is. I mean, it's just, I'm not sure we've ever seen it happen like that or like this. It's just, I mean, the way that, and it's a guy that's, really just entering his prime, defensive player of the year, historic, franchise altering contract, all within the matter of a handful of hours. It's amazing.
It's ridiculous.
All a week before you're playing the biggest game of your life against your hated rivals. So it is amazing that I love whenever we get stories like that from Adam Schefter, the behind, even when they were talking about with the Mitch dealings, the behind the scenes stuff like that. I love it. I mean, I could listen to that stuff all day. It's so interesting to me.
It really is.
Well, you think, to give credit where credit is due, and Shane's pointing it out, how rare this is. I mean, just think about what he does to your defense and how that's going to help this team. I've talked about him all weekend long, obviously, but I wanted to say one other point about the GM and the coach and their connection and friendship when it comes to this personnel and talking and communicating what is needed. So clearly there was a plan. Pace went on to say every day, Coach Nagy would ask, so what about Mack? What about Mack? So it's in his head. He played against him. He realized how difficult he was to game plan against. Those types of players, especially as a coach that you recognize on another team and you're watching tape and you're like, Jesus Christ, we're trying to run a play that on the chalkboard, it works. But in the game, I'm sending two guys at him and a fullback that actually blocks, and I still can't block him. So he's disruptive to that extreme. Your head coach is asking every day. There's a formulated plan that ends up coming to the finish line in an epic way, as Shane said, to change the course and the history of your franchise. In my mind, this is, like I said, the only guy that comes to mind every time I think of him when I watch is Lawrence Taylor. And that guy was so dominating and so effortless. This guy works harder, and LT would be the first one to tell you. I think he could put up 225 10 times LT. He just had farm boy strength and athleticism beyond. Khalil Mack is absolutely so powerful. Shane put up a video on his timeline of Khalil just taking one hand and moving, what's his name, Fisher?
Yes.
Eric Fisher, yeah, from Kansas City.
Just throwing him
one hand.
One hand, Aldo. That's a 338-pound offensive tackle who's athletic.
His non-dominant hand at that.
Exactly. It just fucking threw his ass down and goes to the quarterback. I'm watching his tape, and it's like an artist getting to see a Picasso, or a guy who loves music getting to sit with Bob Marley and watch him play the guitar and sing. It's that elite. I'm not hyping this up. And when you see it, it's like, Chicago fans have been spoiled. Let's be honest. You just got to see Michael Jordan. You've seen Walter Payton. You've seen some of the best to ever do it. Brian Urlacher, Singler, Buckus, Sayer, all these athletes. This guy is going to be up there with them. And that, to get that, pass rushers never hit the market. I wanted, what's his name, Ziggy Ansah. This guy's 20 times the player Ansah is. Like, Ansah's a great football player. Nothing against him. But if you're going to choose two in a gym to play, who are you taking? And Von Miller, as great as Von Miller is, this guy can do so much for your defense. Line up over the nose and do all these different. It's a landmark. It's a windfall for the Bears.
Is he the biggest pass rusher to hit the market since Peppers?
You know what? I really think that's a really, really good. It's funny they got them both.
Yeah, I mean
Did you hear what I said, Shane, about Peppers?
Yeah, I did last night.
Did you totally agree with what I was selling there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's
like Martellus Bennett.
Yeah.
God made this guy to be a pass rusher. He could dominate every play.
Yeah.
But he just
this is the thing that you got to remember too, Phil. And since Saturday, I mean, I'm still a little bit numb to this because we're only seeing bits and pieces of practice. I mean, this will all come to fruition Sunday night when we see him out there. The thing that separates Khalil Mack is just exactly what you said. He plays every snap like his hair's on fire.
Exactly.
Peppers decided when he was going to do that. And it wasn't all the time. He would take plays off. He would take quarters off. Julius Peppers took games off. But that's how good that guy is because he's got that switch that can go on and off. Khalil Mack, and what do we spend so much of our time talking about? He's what we wanted Pernell McPhee to be. The guy that was going to bring that dog, that was going to be relentless. It's going to fire. You know what's going to happen in the first quarter if Khalil Mack goes out there and folds Aaron Rodgers in half? That whole fucking Bears sideline is going to run out there to fucking blow this guy on the fucking field. I'm serious. It's going to inspire. You don't think Mitch is going to want to get that fucking ball and go down and score? It's going to be like a tsunami. I mean, with this whole team. He's going to go, even if it's a tackle for a loss, he's going to get up and he's going to show, I'm the fucking man. They brought me here to do this. I'm the fucking man. Now, Mitch, now it's your turn. Mitch is going to make a play. Jordan, now it's your turn. Anthony Miller, now it's your turn. Trey Burton, you just scored a fucking touchdown. Khalil Mack, you get back out there and you do your thing. It's going to spread. And this is when you see these franchise-altering deals. This all started with Mitch when they did that. The very next year, we just saw another one happen here with Khalil Mack, and we get to see it come to fruition Sunday night, and it's a young football team with enthusiasm is where it all starts. You got to see it on the field, but Phil, with Aldo, we've all played sports. When you're playing with a positive attitude and you're having fun and you're enjoying it, special things can happen.
Hey, guys, I'm going to call Mr. J.J. Stankevitz right now. Let's see if this Skype machine is going to be kind.
Mike Burton talk. J.J., break him down.
Yeah, I was going to say, Phil, we've seen all the great ones here in Chicago, including Mike Burton at the fullback position.
Oh, yeah. Whoa.
J.J. on the
Hello?
phone. J.J. Stankevitz from NBC Sports Chicago. How are you?
What's up, guys? That's like the second most exciting greeting I've gotten today behind my dog. When I
God bless dogs. They're always good for a great greeting when you walk in the door.
We have to let Aldo out the door sometimes just to go to the bathroom, too. It's not that big of a difference.
That's right. JJ, let me tell you who you are on with. The voice you just heard, that one that threw the insult at me, is Shane, the smartest man in the barroom, Marsall. And then there is Draft Dr. Phil Atoshin, world-renowned draft scout and football guru. And my name is Aldo Gandhi. I'm just here to serve the drinks and listen to you guys, the three of you guys, talk football. So welcome to 100 Proof, the Bears Barroom, and I'm going to turn it over to Phil to start the Q&A.
How you doing, JJ? How was your evening?
It was great. Made some dinner. This is my only off day of the week, so got some things done. Got a haircut. Made dinner for the week to take up to Hallis Hall, and it's going to be a fun one this week up there.
Yeah, what's the temperature like? They worked late into the night. They make this huge monumental trade, basically rock the NFL world, rock Chicago. When you look at this defense of where they were and coming into the season, and then you add the queen on the chessboard in the pass rusher, the elite, the face of the franchise type, how is the energy up there, and how are the players reacting to this? Because sometimes you get these guys coming in from somewhere else, and there's kind of, we have our vibe already. What has it been like?
Yeah, I'm sure you guys saw Charles Leno belting out Return of the Mac on his Instagram feed.
Yeah.
I asked him about that, and he said, he rolled over Saturday morning, and his girlfriend was like, hey, we just got Khalil Mack. And he's like, stop playing. Like, there's no, like, we've been talking about that forever. There's no way. And she's like, no, seriously, we got Khalil Mack. And he, like, got out of bed and was like, oh, my God, this is amazing. So, he went downstairs and he cranked that up, played it on repeat pretty much all day. And, while it was maybe a little more, it wasn't as, like, celebratory on Monday when we had a chance to go into the locker room, you can just sense how excited these guys are about Khalil Mack. Asking Akeem Hicks about what does Khalil Mack do to you, and he's just single blocks. Prince Amukamara joking that his prediction of 10 interceptions is looking a little bit better now. And then, Matt Nagy gets up at the podium on Monday, and I swear, guys, anytime Khalil Mack's name was mentioned, he looked like a kid on Christmas who just opened nowadays, like Fortnite packages. He looks like a kid on Christmas because not only does Matt Nagy know what Khalil Mack can do, he had this scheme against Khalil Mack in Kansas City, and just the excitement level in that building is really through the roof. And I kind of brought it up to Kyle Long, where he said, every team's excited at this point. We're ready to start playing football. We're ready for regular season football. And I was like to him, yeah, every team's excited, but not every team has added an all-pro former defensive player of the year a week before the season started. And, yeah, it adds to the excitement up at Hallis Hall for sure.
Hey, JJ, congrats on the new wedding, and I know you were a little bit sick there for a while after Denver, you said, so we were sorry to hear that. And, yeah, we're glad you're feeling better. But to get off the Khalil Mack thing a little bit, we were talking here a little bit earlier when it comes down to the 53, this initial 53 that we're rolling with in week 1. And what is your take? We're trying to figure it out here. We're all tape guys, and we probably watch a little bit too much of it. And how is Michael Burton on this roster?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that. In my kind of 53-man section, I looked at the fact that Burton only played 2 snaps with Mitch Trubisky during the preseason, and on both of those snaps, he was the only running back in the backfield. So we didn't see it in preseason. We also didn't see a lot of what this offense is going to look like in the preseason. That being said, it is worth noting that in Kansas City, Anthony Sherman played every single game that Andy Reid and Matt Nagy coached together. That doesn't necessarily mean that the Bears are going to run the exact same offense, because Doug Peterson didn't use a fullback last year in Philadelphia, obviously him coming from the Reid coaching tree in Kansas City too. So I think the Bears value what he can do for a team that still does have Jordan Howard. And I think looking at it too, you lose Adam Shaheen, and you do kind of need a little bit more of a blocking presence, which Burton can provide. And two, I don't think this should be discounted. He is Mitch Trubisky's roommate. They do spend a lot of time together. So I think that, all those things kind of go into it with Michael Burton.
JJ, I don't know if I've ever seen him block well, and that's the God's honest truth. We're actually dumbfounded by it, because I think the only thing you're giving me that I could buy if you were selling this crock of crap is that he's his roommate. That's it. Because even if you're looking for him, Mike Sherman's 20 times the football player he is. We've never seen him be physical. We've never seen him make a block that you say, yeah, that's an NFL football player. It doesn't exist. He's a catcher. And when I mean that, I don't mean receptions. I mean catches contact. He's in the way for Jordan Howard. I'm a former coach, coaching history, yada, yada, yada. I'm not trying to bury this kid. I just don't, none of us understand his purpose. If you want a fullback, pick up the kid from Green Bay that they let go. At least he'll get his body on someone and block them.
Ripkowski.
Ryan, thank you, Ripkowski. Ryan Nall, in 3 plays at fullback, showed more than Mike Burton is. We just can't figure it out. we've been asking, please, what does Mike Burton do for you, Coach Nagy? Can you do us a solid and ask him that? Because we can't figure it out, JJ. And believe me.
This is going to sound bad, guys. I think I have bigger fish to fry this week.
No, that's a good one.
Being in the building. Look, I think it's a valid question, and I'm interested to see how it plays out. Look, Ryan Nall is less than a call away. If the Bears get into the regular season and they decide, well, Michael Burton, nah, let's just go with the kid Nall. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of him. I can't remember the exact number of snaps that Anthony Sherman played in Kansas City, but I think he might have played like 100 last year. It was pretty low. I think he will be mostly used only in situations where the Bears do feel comfortable with him being on the field. Now, granted, that may not be very frequently. I mean, he could be inactive for all we know, rendering this whole, kind of a moot point. But I think that, if that is the biggest bone you have to pick with the roster that the Bears constructed, they've constructed a pretty good roster then.
Absolutely.
Let me take that back. Unless you're talking about Marcus Cooper making the roster, which to me was...
Yeah, we were right there with you on that. Now, JJ, after this Khalil Mack trade, I mean, you have that and how Mitch is going to react, Sunday Night Football in Lambeau after this huge offseason in Chicago. Roquan Smith gets kind of pushed down the ladder here a little bit in terms of, being a big story, but it is really a big story, heading into Sunday night. And what is your take on, my take on it is the Bears are very happy where he is, and I think they're playing a little bit coy on, we'll see, we're just going to take this real slow day by day, be real cautious with him. I think that they're ready to, I think they know he's a little more ready than they're letting on. Do you get that sense at all, and they plan on unleashing him maybe a little bit on Sunday night?
Yeah, I do kind of get that sense that, they have played it very safe, but they probably could have pushed him in certain spots and decided not to. Because I think they, kind of like you said, I think they do believe that he's maybe a little bit more ready than they're letting on. That being said, Nick Kwiatkowski is going to start. It's not going to be Roquan Smith from week one because at the end of the day, coaches trust Kwiatkowski with the assignment with all those different things that come with being an inside linebacker. They trust him more than Roquan Smith right now. It wouldn't surprise me if one half into the game, Roquan Smith takes over because he gets out there and the Bears see, yeah, okay, this guy is definitely ready. We were kind of sure he was ready before the game, but he goes out there and he makes a couple plays, and all of a sudden, yeah, this guy's ready. I do think that you're going to see a decent amount of him. I don't think it's going to be, Danny Trevathan level of snap count. But situationally, they're going to get him on the field. It's hard to not look at having a pass rush where you have Eddie Goldman soaking up the interior, Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack rushing from one side, Leonard Floyd rushing from the other side, and then, you got Roquan Smith hiding behind Eddie Goldman to speed into the backfield and use that pass rushing talent that got him 6.5 sacks last year at Georgia. I think there are a lot of ways the Bears can still get him on the field. Even if he's not kind of nominally the starter, he's going to play on Sunday, and he could make a big impact.
JJ, when you look at Bryce Callahan and then Crevan LeBlanc leaves, and you already brought up Cooper, and you look at that slot cornerback position, Callahan, let's face it, he's been just as injured as maybe a Kevin White. Consistency in being injured. That's his consistency, and that's not a good thing. So when you look at that nickel position, where do you see them going if something unfortunately would ever happen to Bryce Callahan? Is the kid Mincy on the practice squad to be moved up in that case? Is that what we're looking at here?
I think that's a possibility. I think the Bears might trust Marcus Cooper more than we might trust him. I think they might trust Kevin Tolliver to get some time in the slot, potentially. I was surprised they let Cravon LeBlanc go. I thought he had that flexibility. He played some outside corner this preseason. He can be that inside-outside guy with some special teams ability. I know he kind of struggled at times last year on special teams, though. That was kind of a surprise that they let him go. If we're looking at, certain guys who got cut you were surprised. But, yeah, that's an issue that, hopefully the Bears can go into the year and nothing will happen to Bryce Callahan. But like you brought up, he has been hurt quite a bit in his career. So they have to have a backup plan in mind. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was a guy like Jonathan Mincy where, if they get to the point where they need a reserve for Callahan, he gets called up from the practice squad and they have to make a move elsewhere.
Hey, JJ, I think one of the things that I find myself bringing up week after week on our show here, and something that's not talked about too much, which I think is unfortunately something that can sneak up and bite the Bears in the ass, and we saw it last year, is Cody Parkey. I've never had a lot of confidence in the kid. I know he's bounced around the league, and he's still fairly young, 4 or 5 teams and in 5 seasons. I mean, Ryan Pace guaranteed this kid $9 million on a $15 million deal, and he hasn't exactly lit it up this preseason. I mean, in a really perfect weather, controlled setting. This isn't Soldier Field in December where he's been missing some of these balls. Where is your confidence level in the kicking game with a guy like Cody Parkey? And is there any whispers around Hallis Hall where they're kind of questioning this move at all?
I haven't heard any whispers about questioning it. I think most people will wait until the regular season starts to kind of start worrying. But, I mean, look, he missed some kicks in the preseason. It's not like you can hide behind, it was a bad snap or anything. No, he just straight up missed the kicks. And, yeah, like you said, they guaranteed him $9 million. They gave him a pretty hefty contract for a kicker. And if Cody Parkey doesn't work out, I think that maybe the blind spot on this team will be kicker. And that is a concern because, look back to last year, that game against Detroit where Trubisky had that miraculous run on 4th and long, set up Connor Barth's field goal, and he missed it. And it was just like, at that point, you knew the season was over, and that I can't think of a more deflating end to a game. And that's a worry if you get into the same situation this year and Trubisky makes a big play to set up a game-winning field goal, and if Cody Parkey misses it, it's going to feel like the Bears are back to square one, just with a lot more money committed at kicker. I do think the Bears, they've done their research on him. Chris Tabor had him for a year in Cleveland. They know him well, and from everything I can tell, they're still confident in the kid. But, look, if he goes out and he struggles to miss kicks in September in Chicago, that doesn't seem like that's going to bode well for his ability to hit kicks in December. So I think that is, if you are looking at kind of a potential blind spot for the team, I think you're spot on that you haven't got a lot of answers about Cody Parkey yet.
JJ, when you look at this football team and you go through the preseason, you got a new aggressive head coach. You've been around this team covering last year's coaching staff. You obviously could sense and see the difference. We could see it just in the way the whole energy of Hallis Hall has been. But I wanted to know your personal take and the feel around, because let's face it, you guys in the media are right there. You all talk. What was the vibe like when you heard that on the 3rd preseason game, all the starters, including Mitch Trubisky, in a new offensive philosophy with a brand new head coach with limited reps and limited starts, wasn't going to play in that game?
Yeah, it was unprecedented. The quote that I keep going back to, the one that really stuck with me, was Sam Osco, who said, essentially, I don't remember the exact wording of the quote, so that this isn't a direct quote, but he said essentially, just because people have done things a certain way for a long time doesn't mean it's right. And I kept going back to that because, one of the arguments that I kept seeing was, well, Bill Belichick doesn't do it. Well, okay, cool. There's one Bill Belichick in this world, and trying to mimic what he does usually it doesn't work out. It's kind of like Nick Saban in college football. Everyone who tries to imitate Nick Saban winds up failing and becomes the next Will Muschamp. So I think that like the outrage over it kind of feel like maybe a little bit overblown. I do think that the thing that I thought was not consistent was the messaging, because we heard for forever about how important every single rep was and maximizing the reps for Mitch Trubisky. And then to come out and say, well, he actually doesn't need them, that didn't fit with what we had been told. That being said, Matt Nagy doesn't have to be, he doesn't have to, show all of his cards to the media. It would be nice if he did. But, I think that this is an instance where I think he's probably on this is going to be more of a trend. I know we saw it with the Rams, a little bit this year where they didn't play any of their offense in the preseason game 3. Todd Gurley basically dumped all over the preseason, which I thought was pretty funny. I do think that the difference here, though, is that you're talking, kind of like you said, you're talking about a quarterback learning a new offense. But I've also made this point. I've made it on NBC Sports Chicago. If 25, 30, 45, whatever, how many reps Trubisky would have gotten that one game, if that's the difference between him not starting the season strong and him starting the season strong, then the Bears don't have the right quarterback. If 40 reps in a preseason game is the dividing line between Trubisky being good in Green Bay and him not being good in Green Bay, then I don't know if I rate Trubisky that highly. And I don't think that's the case. So in that sense, I'll defend Nagy on this one, that the preseason game 3 last year, you guys remember what happened in that game, right?
Cam Meredith, yeah.
Cam Meredith. What you don't remember about that game is that Mike Glennon actually had a good game.
Yep.
I remember going into the locker room that day and, going into the press room and being like, okay, you know what? Mike Glennon did enough to hold off Mitch Trubisky to start the season, and look where that got the Bears. So I do think that the importance of it can be overblown, but the counter-argument that I'll listen to is that the messaging involving a quarterback who's learning a new offense this year was not super consistent.
Let me ask you this to double up on this. So they go out and hypothetically they go and they look incredibly sloppy against the Green Bay Packers on national television. You're a member of the media. I mean, you cover them. What's your story going to be? It's obviously going to go back to that, no? That decision?
I think it's a fair question to ask, but I also think that will be easily overblown. If you look at it and the Bears go out and it's not that they, if they have a couple false starts to start the game, that doesn't impact, or them not playing doesn't impact it. But if you're not seeing Trubisky be on time with his receivers, if you're not seeing him get the protections right and maybe he takes a sack that's his fault, if you're not seeing him kind of get up to the line and make the right check and do a hot route, all these things, I think that's where you can maybe point to it. But again, I think that what I will buy too with this is that I saw those practices in Denver. Trubisky looked really good, and those were competitive practices. They were as close to a game atmosphere as you can get while still being controlled, which is what the Bears really liked about them. It's what a lot of teams liked about those joint practices. And the practices up at Hallis Hall a week later, even, not in front of a camera, people would tell you those were really good practices. So I do think that there is some validity to that. And I know that if Trubisky comes out and let's say his line is like 15 of 31 for 160 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions, I know that the fans are going to be pissed and the takes on it are going to be extreme. And I think Matt Nagy understands that. You could tell he knew where the questions were coming from after that game, and he knew he was going to get criticized for this. And if the season doesn't start well, he was going to hear it then too. But he's sticking by his conviction that it doesn't matter, and that if they start the season slow, then it's not because of these snaps that they lost in the preseason. So. I think it's going to be a really fascinating storyline to watch in Green Bay if that is the case.
Other than Khalil Mack, obviously, and Leonard Floyd and how he's going to adjust with his club. The next pass rusher in line that everybody wants to know about is the missing man, Aaron Lynch. You know, a guy that's got some familiarity with the scheme back in San Francisco with Vic Fangio. Where are we at with him, JJ, right now? Is he a guy is he gonna suit up on Sunday night? Is he gonna miss the first couple of weeks? What's your take on Aaron Lynch?
Yeah, I think we'll know more when they put out the injury report on Wednesday. He participated in practice on Monday, and everything that Matt Nagy has said is that they're comfortable with where he's at. But I mean, look, I don't think I would be surprised if he is inactive for the Green Bay game just because he hasn't played. He's barely practiced. And, I mean, who knows if his hamstring is completely healed at this point. We don't really know that. I think that's why the injury report will be pretty telling with that. But here's the thing with Aaron Lynch now. If the Bears went into free agency with your two starting outside linebackers of Khalil Mack and Leonard Floyd, and then they signed Aaron Lynch, I'd be like, yeah, it's probably a good signing. You get a guy for a couple $1 million with some upside who knows Vic Fangio's defense, and you're not counting on him for a lot, but hopefully you can get maybe 10 to 12 games out of him, which is good with Leonard Floyd not being able to play a full season in his career, and maybe you'll get something out of him. The problem with Aaron Lynch is that they went into literally when they signed him, it was like, okay, he might be your starting outside linebacker opposite Leonard Floyd. And that was just never going to be successful because Aaron Lynch has only played in 14 games in the last 2 years and I think only has 2.5 sacks. So the expectations now for Aaron Lynch, I think, need to be kind of altered to being this guy he still has the upside, even though he's been hurt. If he's healthy, he's got a little bit of upside to him, and the Bears are not counting on him. So I think that's kind of where you start with Aaron Lynch, but it is kind of a shift from the previous expectations before they got Khalil Mack, which were they need this guy to be something, otherwise this pass rush could be in big trouble.
JJ, Harry Houston is a known commodity when it comes to his feelings about rookies and playing them. It's like they have to be precise with calls and understand every protection versus every defensive front known to mankind. When you are out there watching these guys compete and you see a guy like Cush that's probably going to start, it's probably like 100% probably now that he's going to be your starter week 1. How far is the rookie away from taking over, and how impressive has he been in regards to your eyes in these, isolated situations that you're able to see him, especially against Denver, where you're obviously going to test him at the most you possibly could do?
Yeah, I think James Daniels still has a little bit of strength to gain. Mm-hmm. To me, there was a pretty clear difference between watching Cody Whitehair at the point of attack and watching James Daniels at the point of attack during preseason training camp, all that. And that's not I don't believe the Bears still are confident in James Daniels. He still is on the right developmental track. He doesn't turn 21 until September 14th, sometime in mid-September. Mm-hmm. He's still really young. And from that perspective, I think it's he's got to gain a little bit more in terms of his base and his technique and his bulk. And then the other end of it is that, to play center, you have a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. And to throw him out there in week 1, if he were the center, I know they did it with Cody Whitehair a couple years ago, but that was almost like, well, we got to do this because Josh Sitton fell into our lap. And this, right. It's a different case this year. So it can be done. Don't get me wrong. James Daniels is a really smart guy. Kirk Ferentz and the way he coaches offensive line is similar to the way that Harry Houston coaches offensive line. They kind of come from that same tree. I think James Daniels is going to start this year, and I don't know when that will be, but I do know about Harry Houston. I covered him at Notre Dame almost every year he was there. So 2012 through 2016 when I covered the Irish. And, Harry Houston had some studs there as true freshmen. And I know we're talking about a different game, but Quentin Nelson barely played as a true freshman. He redshirted, actually. Mike McGlinchey redshirted as a true freshman. Ronnie Stanley didn't play as a true freshman. And these are guys who are top 10 picks in the NFL draft. So Harry Hiestand is willing to kind of let these guys develop a little bit more behind the scenes, go with the guy who he might trust a little bit more, like an Eric Kush, or at Notre Dame, it was like a guy like Christian Lombard, that's a remember a guy if you're a Notre Dame. But, that he was more willing to go with those guys that we trusted early until the younger guys proved to him without a shadow of a doubt that he could trust them. So I do think James Daniels will do that this year, but it's not going to be, immediate, I don't think.
Well, to stay on the offensive line, to switch over to the other guard position, back this spring we had Kyle Long and Akeem Hicks on the show together, and Kyle was very upfront and descriptive with, telling us about all of his different surgeries and everything that he was going through. And really, with everybody else, it's kind of still an unknown. Yes, he's been available, but we haven't seen a whole bunch. What are you expecting out of Kyle Long this year?
That's a good question. I thought Kyle Long kind of got maybe unfairly rated a little bit last year when he did play. I thought he played, I'm not going to say he played Pro Bowl level or anything, but when he was healthy and out there, I thought Kyle Long was still pretty good. And I know, I think it was like Pro Football Focus maybe didn't rate him very well. I think that Kyle Long is as close to healthy as he's been in the last couple of years. The Bears have a solid player at right guard. If Kyle Long is healthy, and we're talking about, no injury concerns, and he plays all 16 games, let's not forget that this guy was a Pro Bowler pretty recently. And I still
both guard and tackle.
Right, exactly. I think he's still got some tread in his tires. The Bears do have to kind of hedge themselves, though, with him because he hasn't played a full season since 2015. So I think the first hope for Kyle Long is that he plays all 16 games. And I think if he does that, the rest takes care of itself.
Staying with the offensive line, is there a better story than what you've seen in Rashad Coward coming from the defensive line position as an undrafted free agent to being coached up by arguably the best offensive line coach in the country, and then to be rostered because I would report back because Shane and I were so excited about this move that they made back in the spring, that they mentioned it and changed his position. And Shane actually was doing reconnaissance saying, wait, his position's guard now on this, or tackle, offensive tackle on the website. Yeah. And then sure enough, it comes out and following a similar track to, Chicago lore and James Big Cat Williams. Talk about this kid's journey and what you see in him. And have you had a chance to speak to him about making the team at a different position? It's amazing to me.
Yeah. I talked to them a bit after the Buffalo game last Thursday. And, he's a guy who just, I think he just gets it. And that in a way that Harry Hiestand can work with this guy because he's so coachable and he picks things up, as you know, he picks things up really fast because most guys who change positions from the defensive side to the offensive side in March don't make the team in September.
Right.
And part of it with the Bears is a long-term view that I think they believe this guy's going to be their starting right tackle in 2019. And he has the potential to do that. He's incredibly athletically gifted, but he just, you watch some of his snaps that he had in that Kansas City game. I know the one where he gave up the sack that then got the flag thrown on Chase Daniel. That was a miss, but he looks strong. I mean, he's going up against, Dee Ford and Justin Houston, and he looked strong. And
yes,
he played with the kind of technique that you can see some potential in him. And I mean, take it from me, from watching Harry Hiestand develop a not to compare Rashad Coward to Mike McGlinchey, because I'm going to sort of do that right now, and that's kind of unfair. But Mike McGlinchey, Notre Dame, he had no idea what he was doing. He was mostly a tight end at a really small school in Philadelphia, and he got to Notre Dame, and they redshirted him his freshman year. He didn't play he didn't start until the last game of the year, his sophomore year. And to see his growth, and it happened so quickly, I think Harry Hiestand is something similar to Rashad Coward. I'm not going to say he's going to turn him into a guy worthy of being a top 10 pick, but I think Harry Hiestand can turn this guy into being a solid player at right tackle for an absolute bargain of a price. And I think that is beyond what Harry Hiestand can do with the established guys there, Cody Whitehair, Charles Leno, those guys. If Harry Hiestand turns Rashad Coward into a starter in 2019, he's worth every single penny you paid him.
JJ, to switch over to the other side, we're talking about the 53, and we're all in agreement, very surprised that Mike Burton made the team and Marcus Cooper. But one guy that really Phil and I believe Aldo too, were surprised that got let go along the defensive line, guy that we thought was playing very well and was showing some versatility, playing inside and outside, was John Jenkins. I didn't know if it was going to be a same type of deal as last year, where they were going to bring him back after week one, with a non-guaranteed salary, but he signed with the New York Giants today, so that's a moot point. Were you a little bit surprised to see him be let go in the initial 53?
Yeah, I was. I thought Nick Williams did a good preseason. I thought he was probably more disruptive than John Jenkins, but I just kind of figured, John Jenkins is a kind of natural backup for Eddie Goldman. And we're talking about a guy who's going to be inactive on game day, so sort of like, what does it matter? I do think that the fact that John Jenkins played so much might have ultimately been kind of a negative for him, because the Bears were really doing their evaluation between him and Nick Williams. And if they were really sold on John Jenkins, he wouldn't have been playing as much as he did. So I think we're talking about the sixth defensive lineman is rarely active for games. If something were to happen to Eddie Goldman, they do have the flexibility. Jonathan Bullard can play some inside. Obviously, you could put Akeem Hicks there if you really need to. Bilal Nichols can get in there. Nick Williams can get in there. So Jay Rogers really preaches flexibility with his defensive linemen, and the ability to play, a 1-3-5-0, whatever you want technique. I do think that kind of plays into it, where John Jenkins could play a couple different techniques, but maybe Nick Williams played them better during the preseason.
How confident are you in Kevin White being able to handle the playbook as well as making the roster and turning his career around, so to speak, under Matt Nagy in this offense?
It depends on what your expectations for Kevin White are. I think if the expectation is that he has I know the limited route tree has been kind of a bugaboo for his career, but if he has a couple, special plays that he's going to be out there and he's going to run those effectively. I saw that in training camp. I think he can do that. In terms of turning his career around, it kind of depends on what that looks like. If we're talking about turning his career around and living up to the expectations of being a first-round pick, I don't think there's the opportunity there with the Bears, because you have so many guys ahead of him on the pass-catching depth chart, including tight ends and Tariq Cohen in there. And B, I think he's got to do it in a game. And that touchdown he had against Kansas City was good. The double move to beat kind of a hapless David Amerson was really positive to see. He's got to do it in a regular season game now. And I think this is a process for him to slowly build himself up. It's just kind of like, you keep hearing about his confidence, and this is his fourth wide receivers coach in 4 years that he's on. And I think Mike Furry has a good attitude about it. And he's better equipped to handle Kevin White than Zach Azzani was. But I don't know what the turnaround looks like for Kevin White. It could be, maybe we're talking like 30 catches, a couple hundred yards, and a touchdown or two. And would that be good? That would be good for the Bears if Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller and Trey Burton and Taylor Gabriel all kind of pan out the way they think they will, then what Kevin White would provide, which I think would also make him like the second leading receiver on the 2017 Bears, that would be good. But for Kevin White's career, I don't know what kind of turnaround season looks like that's going to get him anything more than a one-year deal after this. That being said, the opportunity presents itself to Kevin White. I also wouldn't be shocked if he took advantage of it, just along the same lines as Kyle Fuller did the same thing a year ago. I mean, I was thinking Kyle Fuller might be a guy who could be a candidate to be out of the league after 2017, and then he gets a $56 million contract. So guys can turn this around fast when their backs are up against the wall, and I think we'll see what Kevin White can do with that this year.
Well, let me double up on this question and put your general manager's cap on, and you're our coach, your head coach. You're going in to play Green Bay, and you have a choice. It's between Kevin White and Javon Wims. Who is J.J. Stankevitz dressing to play for his team to win?
Yeah, I've thought about that question a lot, actually, because I'm just trying to kind of get White is inactive on Sunday. That's a story. Look, I think you can do it in a narrow view or a long view. If you are not going to make Kevin White active, could that hurt his confidence? Yeah, it could. But Kevin White doesn't play special teams. Javon Wims has shown he is willing and able to be on a special teams unit, whether that's kick coverage. He was on an onside kick unit against Buffalo. He did some turn coverage as a gunner. He can be on special teams, whereas you're not going to get that out of Kevin White. But on the other hand, I think Kevin White is more prepared to go out and make a catch against Green Bay than Javon Wims is. I know Wims had a great preseason. We're still talking about a rookie, and it's a different game when you get to the regular season. So it kind of depends on where you want to maximize that receiver spot's impact. If it is, say, okay, Chris Tabor comes in and pounds the fist and says, we've got to have depth on special teams. Then you take Javon Wims. But if Matt Nagy, Mark Helfrich, and Mike Torrey come in and say, I think Kevin White can actually make an impact on offense, then I think you probably figure you've got someone else on this roster who can do what Wims does on special teams, and you make Kevin White active. But, I mean, right now, guys, I'm calling it a toss-up between those two guys.
But, JJ, if you're catering to Kevin White's psyche, then Kevin White shouldn't be on this roster. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Do you really believe, because I'm totally against you. I think Javon Wims will go into the game and catch the goddamn football because he has shown it in games where Kevin White, we're trying to, tiptoe around Kevin. How does that work, JJ? Are we going to worry about his feelings? You're exactly telling the truth. I just think when you're trying to win, I don't think we'll use a different coach than Belichick as you put him out there. Mike Tomlin is not going to put a guy out there because he's, his psyche's going to be hurt. It's about winning football. So to me, I really think Wims offers the better chance, and I think he will get and make the play. Whereas I'm holding my breath with Kevin White.
Yeah, and I don't think any Bears fan should. I don't think anyone should go into this year expecting Kevin White to do a lot just because we've never seen it from him.
Right.
So, but at the same token, we also have never seen it from Javon Wims in the regular season. I know what he did in the preseason was good. I could also cherry pick a bad drop he had against Cincinnati. So, there are certain things that the Bears are going to look at and make this call. I think with, Kevin White talking about his psyche, I think it's more of a long-term play with that, saying, okay, you know what? Yeah, we can get another guy who can do what Wims can do on special teams, and we might need Kevin White sometime this year to step in and be a starter, and we don't want him to come in cold after being inactive for a couple games where he hasn't been able to kind of build up that confidence that the Bears need to see him build up. But on the other hand, like you were saying, this is the NFL. It's about winning games. It's not about hurting feelings. If it were about hurting feelings, you'd have 90-man rosters. So
right.
They need to figure that out. I think that the coaching staff is going to have some long discussions about that this week to figure out, okay, who's active and who's inactive. And if it's Kevin White, we'll, kind of see what the reasoning is. That's probably a good follow-up question for Matt Nagy on Monday. If it's not Kevin White, that is another good question. So whatever it is, it's going to raise a question. I copped out earlier when you guys said, give me a prediction, and I said it would be a toss-up. So I'm actually going to give you a prediction. Kevin White will be active.
Look at you.
Talking about a lack of confidence, well, I want to talk about somebody that doesn't have that problem in Anthony Miller. And you can throw Tariq Cohen in with this too. JJ, I brought it up with Roquan Smith where I think that the Bears are playing a little bit coy, and you agreed with me. I know they're trying to keep things under wraps, but I'm invested in this, and like I said, we all put a ton of time into what we do in terms of football. I can't really remember another wide receiver drafted so early that just they shelved essentially in the preseason. And I mean, I know they want to keep them under wraps and not. I mean, is this going to be the Anthony Miller show on Sunday Night Football? I mean, is the world about to find out who this kid is? Is that what this was all about? To unleash him so nobody really knows what to expect? Because I mean, I believe in Anthony Miller. I had him as my third-ranked wide receiver in the NFL draft, but still, for him to get such limited playing time, it was a shocker to me. And I don't know. That was one of the questions that I did have about Matt Nagy and the way that he divvies up some of these reps in preseason. But is this going to be the Anthony Miller show Sunday night?
It might be. Look, I had the same question, and I thought that, I mean, the fact that Anthony Miller is lumped in with all these veterans it's proving what the Bears saw in him, and I'm sure what you saw in him when you're looking at when they drafted him, is that this guy, despite the fact that Memphis' offense kind of comes across as this like run and gun, shotgun heavy offense, I talked with their wide receivers coach after the Bears took Anthony Miller, and he told me, he was like, yeah, that's how the offense looks, but our route concepts are pro route concepts. So Anthony is coming to the Bears with a pretty developed route tree and a good knowledge of route concepts and what the other receivers on the field are doing. So, I mean, you're talking about a really smart football player who has the receiving instincts, the athleticism, and then the confidence to pair with it. That's what you want out of a wide receiver. And I think the fact that the Bears felt like, this guy actually doesn't need the seasoning, to me, that maybe you can question that because he is a rookie. But from everything we saw from Anthony Miller down in Bourbonnais, this kid is the real deal. And he was, I don't think there's a question, he was the best wide receiver the Bears had in training camp. I don't think he's going to be your number one target or your number two target, but he could be your number three behind Allen Robinson and Trey Burton. And the numbers that he can put up, because, I mean, defenses are going to have to roll coverages to someone, and it's probably going to be toward Allen Robinson. Trey Burton's going to generate a lot of focus from opposing defenses, given that I think he's going to wind up as the Bears' leading receiver this year. And then that frees up Anthony Miller to go one-on-one against some cornerbacks without maybe as much help over the top as you might expect. Anthony Miller's going to win a lot of those matchups. He is that good. He is that established already. And while I think every Bears coach, whether it's Nagy or Furry, or Mark Helfrich, is very quick to say, no, this guy's got a ways to go, you can tell the way that he looked down in training camp that he's got what it takes to get off to a really good start to the season and kind of show, kind of like you said, that teams may not see him coming because they may not have a whole lot of film on him, but the Bears know what he can do.
Well, I know we're taking a lot of your time, but I got one last question for you because you cover this team. You're there. The energy is different. You saw last year to this year. I have one question for you. Who's the leader of this team going into 2018?
Mitch Trubisky, 100%. And it's not a debate. It's not like they're oh, well, this guy could be elite. No, it's Mitch Trubisky, and it is his team. Players on that team will follow him, and what he has done. I mean, I literally, from the moment he walked back into Hal Hall the first time in 2018 with Matt Nagy as the head coach, he established himself as the leader of this team. I mean, you talk to everyone on both sides of the ball, and it is abundantly clear who the leader of this team is. Now he's got to go out and prove he can do it on the field. He can back up all that leadership by the field. But from a pure lead up to the season standpoint, there's no debating it. This is Mitch Trubisky's team, and he is the unquestioned leader of this.
Did I lose JJ?
JJ?
Hello?
Yeah, we just
there
lost you temporarily.
You were hitting it out of the goddamn ballpark.
We thought Matt Nagy put you on the bench because we didn't want to unleash him.
AJ's firing down, slamming the gavel, and his audio goes up.
And the phone call drops like it was Adam Engel taking that home run away.
JJ, great job.
This is JJ Stankevitz, and you are listening to Bears Barroom Radio.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Holy cow, this guy must be a pro.
I think he's got some experience at this.
Moon Mullen had 13 takes to do that, JJ.
Speaking of co-workers, JJ, Lauren Cox was a member of Bears Barroom for a couple of years before you guys took him away. Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of our alumni.
Yeah, good.
You sound excited about that.
Yeah, we felt the same way about him. No, we love him. JJ, thanks very much. Please tell our audience where they can follow you on Twitter, and please also, if you can, just tell us a little bit about NBC Sports Chicago's coverage for Bears games on Sundays.
Yeah, I'll start with our coverage on Sundays. So I'll be at every game. I'll be filing my reports and doing all that on NBCSportsChicago.com. And our post-game show, the after show with Lawrence Holmes, Matt Forte, Lance Briggs, and Alex Brown. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an amazing show. I had the pleasure to work with Lawrence and AB and Briggs last year on the post-game show, and they're wonderful. And the couple of times I've been able to work with Matt Forte, he is going to be a really good addition to our coverage. So I can't pump that up enough. You're going to want to watch that after every Bears game. Maybe Lawrence and I will start dancing again on TV or something. You know.
I saw that.
And we still got Moon Mullen cranking away his columns for us. Like you mentioned, we got Lauren Cox writing a lot of really good stuff for us. He's got a really good understanding of the game too. I'm excited. I'm excited to see where the season goes, and I'm excited to work with my crew at NBC Sports Chicago. It's a really good one. And I hope you can follow me on Twitter. My handle is @JJS, and then I hope my name pops up because I don't want to spell it out.
I will make sure to spell it at the end of the show to remind people to give JJ Stankevitz a follow on Twitter, and make sure you catch his coverage at the website. And it is, again, NBCSportsChicago.com.
Right on. Thanks, guys, for having me.
JJ brought it.
You handled
indeed the pass rush, JJ. You were like Coward in his second year under Houston.
Yeah, right. Let's go with that. Yeah.
Take care, JJ. We'll talk to you again.
Oh, really good,
right,
Jace.
Thanks,
really great stuff, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks.
There we
go. That was a home run right there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The crickets are dead, yeah.
You might have to give me more music. Oh, man. He called Trey Burton, Allen Robinson, Roquan, Miller, Daniels, and said that Matt Nagy, the hire, was likely. I told you I was going to need more music. Jesus, he made me laugh too many times with this cricket.
We'll re-rack it here. Here we go.
Re-rack it.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, Oh, yeah. Trying to keep it short, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Taking this motherfucker over, yeah.
He called Trey Burton, Allen Robinson, Roquan Miller Daniels, and he said the Matt Nagy hire was likely. He's no blogger, no insider, no fraud, not a blabbermouth, and he's keeping all of his Nikes. He's the smartest man in the barroom.
Well done. Well done. And this is Shane's shitty tweet of the week. He does this every week for us. He identifies a shitty tweet, and then a little later, he tells us the tweet that made him smile or made him proud to be a Chicago Bears fan. So, Shane, what do you got?
Yeah, so we're going to go back to the old rapid fire scenario here tonight because there was just it's kind of a big week for us guys. There was so much shit out in Twittersville the past few days. I was screenshotting. I mean, I must have 50 of them on my phone that I had to filter through, but we're going to get things kicked off here with Pro Football Talk at Pro Football Talk sent out a tweet saying Khalil Mack isn't the missing piece for Chicago's Super Bowl run in 2018, so maybe they should have waited until March 2019 to make this trade. Let's wait on the all-pro pass rusher so more people can
get in the
ammunition. And because this once-in-a-lifetime event that we just saw unfold in front of our eyes. Let's just, fuck it. Let's put it off until, 2019 when more teams, want to load up and go get this kid. So Pro Football Talk, fucking bravo, Florio, you dumb fuck. Okay.
Nerds!
So, Johnny Testy at 9 Finger John. If you think anybody on the Bears roster is better than David Bakhtiari, I don't think you know football.
Are you serious?
Even after getting Khalil Mack. So, Mr. Johnny Testy 9 Fingers, he can probably fit all 9 fingers into his fat girlfriend with a dumb tweet like that. But nobody on the Bears roster is better than David Bakhtiari. Okay. And that's even including Khalil Mack. He even had to throw that in there.
He threw Khalil in there.
Yeah, he even threw Khalil in there. Well, I could have a laundry list of players that I would take before David Bakhtiari, Johnny. So.
Wait a minute. What was that Twitter handle again? Because not only do I want all of our barflies to just let that guy know how stupid he is, but also just, I don't know. But don't say anything.
At 9 Finger John. N-I-N-E.
Oh, it's spelled out. Okay, good.
Yeah, it's, 9 spelled out. N-I-N-E Finger John. J-O-N.
Yeah, don't say anything super mean. Don't say anything about his fat girlfriend.
Don't attack him.
Don't say anything about fingering his fat girlfriend with all 9 fingers.
Where does the last finger go? That's what Aldo wants.
That's what I was wondering.
That goes in the brown hole, Packerville, right in the back.
We call that the snake hole around those parts.
So we've had 2, but we're not done yet.
Oh, we got more.
Yeah, Mike North's buddy, Mike Greenberg at ESPN Greeny. I don't doubt the Khalil Mack for 1 second. I don't doubt Khalil Mack for 1 second. He's a brilliant player, but there is no one in the NFL that isn't a quarterback who is worth 2 first-round picks and $90 million. # Bears, # Raiders. Oh yes, there is, Greeny, and his name is Khalil Mack. And that's exactly who's worth that. This is a new NFL. This is something that, like I said, you've never seen this before. These guys do not hit the market. Do you think if Von Miller was made available for trade, he'd get 2 first-round draft picks? You're goddamn right he would. I mean, I can take you on. You think Aaron Donald would get that? Sure he would.
Yeah.
I think Fletcher Cox from Philadelphia would get it. These guys do not hit the open market or the trade market, however you want to phrase it. And Chicago did not overpay. I don't give a shit what the money is. Peter King did a nice piece saying that his cap hit is going to be like 10.6% of our total cap. The way that the cap keeps on going up in a few years, and this guy's locked up for 7 years. So
it's always going up, Shane.
Yeah,
Remind
exactly.
the audience, it's never going down in our lifetime. It ain't gonna go down next year.
That's right. At Hoosier STL, the guy's name is Mark Dunlap. Ryan Pace is the worst GM in football. He could have gotten Khalil Mack and Mitch Trubisky for much less. Typical Chicago, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Oh yeah. Matt Whitener.
Wait, there's more.
Yes, but wait, there's more. Matt Whitener, who is a black guy. That's kind of funny, but at Cheap Seat Fan, 2 first-round picks plus the cost of still re-signing Khalil Mack is a move too rich for a team currently where the Bears sit in their roster rebuild. That's a 1 step away, and our window is closing, so fuck it move. And that isn't the Bears' life right now. Well, I know Mike North doesn't agree, and there is a few other people out there that don't agree. Last year at this time, nobody expected the Rams to make the playoffs. Nobody expected the Philadelphia Eagles to win the fucking Super Bowl. I'm not saying that the Bears are going to go out and be Super Bowl champs, but you know what? They have just as much of a chance right now as Philadelphia, as the Rams, as any of those teams did last year. So we'll see where this goes, and I think there's a lot of, spilled milk going on here with a lot of these people because we got Khalil Mack and you didn't, but the shit show must go on. Michael David Smith, at Michael David Smith. The Bears are going to give up 2 first-round picks to give Khalil Mack, admittedly a good player, more salary cap space than he's worth. When Ryan Pace gets fired, the next GM is going to have a big mess to clean up.
I remember this dumbass fucking tweet.
Yeah. So this move alone is going to get Ryan Pace fired. This generational type talent that we acquired in our prime is going to get Ryan Pace fired. It's just, like I said, I think people have problems with the Chicago Bears overall, and they just don't want to give any credit. I mean, Calculator Kent, Packers fans, Vikings fans, all of these guys wanted Khalil Mack, and when he became a Chicago Bear, all of a sudden, oh, he's making too much money. You gave up those first-round draft picks. Well, you know what? I'm fucking glad we did. Yes, the draft is going to be boring for us for a couple of years, but we also can look back and we got an extra second rounder for 2020, and we got Khalil Mack. So we're ahead of the game as far as I'm concerned. And we actually had one shitty tweet that was off the Khalil Mack storyline, and that's from Bear Down 2018 at Bear Down NYC. A fellow New Yorker wrote, Ryan Nall is greater than Tariq Cohen. I'm not even joking. Now, I love Ryan Nall, and I'm very happy with what he's did and that he's on our practice squad, but let's just pump the brakes just a little bit there, Bear Down 2018, and saying that he's a better player than Tariq Cohen, who's going to be Matt Nagy's ultimate weapon. We heard them talk about maybe he could be the Tyreek Hill. Who knows if that'll unfold, but let's just pump the brakes just a little bit on making some huge statements like that.
Shane, where was Khalil Mack ranked in the NFL Network's top 100? Does anyone know?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me check.
I got it right here for you, sir.
Thank you. I'm
He's
going to
ranked
guess top 5.
Yeah, that's where you're going. Shane, you got a guess? Don't look.
I'll say number 7.
So in 2016, he was ranked number 5. In 2017, last season, he was ranked 16. So in regards to the Chicago Bears and the hate and everything of that nature, I don't know why he was ranked 16th and 5, but if you had to go into a draft or pay a guy, are you taking Khalil Mack in a trade for that amount? It's such a hypocritical double standard how these narratives are written. Greeny, this Mark David Smith Pro Football Talk, waiting, all of it makes zero sense. This guy, whether 16-5, wherever, is a top 10 talent in my eyes in this league. And to your other point, Shane, that you were making in there about Mike North and about the Rams, I want to say this real quick. A top 10 defense gets a top 10, we'll say, football player. I think he's the best pass rusher in the NFL, in my opinion. No smoke there. That kind of difference maker on a defense already top 10, combined with a running game and a running back that's elite. So you have two pieces to the playoff race. If every coach is cliche and saying defense wins championships, running games get you there. It's in a passing league, you might see screwballs of running games being important every week. Every week, they're so important. It's not talked about. It's talked about in fantasy football. How many yards did Le'Veon get? How many yards did Derrick Henry get? How many yards did Howard get? That's where it's talked about. They don't talk about situational football anymore like we do here. They don't talk about that kind of the importance of moving the chains. And to Shane's point, you have two of the ingredients. The third ingredient, the passing game right now in this offense, from what we've seen and the talent they have and the personnel changes and the coach that's aggressive, and it could go either way because we don't know. We haven't seen it. They've hit it, as Shane was saying, with these players as well as the playbook. So to say it can't, and you've defined, I will say this last point. The trade of Khalil Mack puts you in the hunt for the division. Clearly, not even a joke. This is about winning the fucking division and getting to the playoffs. If you can't see it as a Bear fan or whoever other fan of the NFL you are, that this is a chess piece to win, you're ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Von Miller was ranked. Do you have that whole list in front of you, that top 100?
Yeah, I could give it to you.
Where's Von Miller at?
Von Miller's 9.
Okay, and Khalil Mack was 16?
Yes, okay. This year.
So check out
Von Miller.
Check out these stats from 2017. Miller had 57 total tackles. Mack had 78. Mack had 10.5 sacks. Von Miller had 10. Both players had 3 passes defensed, and Von Miller had 2 forced fumbles, and Mack had 1. Those stats are just about the same, except that Mack had almost 20 more tackles than Von Miller, and yet he's ranked that much lower than Von Miller. I don't get it.
Yes, Aldo. Add one more stat to that I believe, I'm just paraphrasing, so I'm not going to throw a number. Okay. But he was number 1 out of the whole NFL in hurries, in QB hurries. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Guess what that leads to, folks? Turnovers.
You want an even better stat on that?
Do I need to call the blog?
Yeah.
Dave McGinnis. I got a little McGinnis.
We're still technically in the preseason, so he's not paying attention. Last year, the Chicago Bears, as a defense, the entire defense had 100 quarterback pressures. 100. Last year, Khalil Mack in Oakland had 74 himself.
Oh my fucking God.
Yep.
Like, think about the importance of that. Go ahead, speak on it.
Do you remember when people were saying, this Bears lack of pass? Hey, don't worry. Lamar Houston's still out there. Willie Young, we can grab him off his fishing boat. We'll bring him back. anybody that's questioning this move at all just doesn't get the overall picture. Is it a risk? Sure, it's a risk. Yes, just like investing a first-round draft pick in anybody is a risk. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? If you're going to make a big sacrifice, what does Mike North say? You got to go in with confidence. And if you could go in with a known commodity like Khalil Mack, then it's a non-story.
Exactly.
Yes, it's a lot of money. Yes, it's a lot of draft compensation, but he's better. If the Bears are drafting 12, if they're drafting 15, your percentage chance of finding a Khalil Mack, if you have the number 1 overall pick, is pretty fucking minute.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Now, if the Bears are drafting in the top 15, it gets way worse. If the Bears make the playoffs and you're down even farther, it's getting even, it's not even realistic. And then you're getting to 2020 where we gave up our other first rounder. There's a realistic shot that this shit in Oakland could blow up. And we could get a high second rounder, and they could get a mid, 20s pick. And
or even better.
Yeah.
Could be the 32nd.
Yeah, exactly. We could be picking 32 and have the first, or Oakland could be picking 32, and we could have the first pick in the second round, and we dropped one spot. Who knows? So, I mean, don't quite enjoy this, Bears fans.
Exactly.
If other people get pissed off and want to talk negative about it, it's nothing but jealousy. That's what it is. If he was a Packers fans would love it, and we'd be the ones that were pissed off. So this is something that does not happen ever. Phil, do you remember, Aldo, you've been around. Hey, do you remember a trade like
Aldo,
this?
You're ancient.
Yeah, you've
been around. Hey, Aldo, you've been around a long time.
But seriously, I mean, Wilbur Marshall,
Page.
but Wilbur Marshall was fantastic, but he wasn't a defensive player of the year.
That's true.
So,
you know what? I am totally on board. You don't need to defend this trade. Anybody that doesn't get it is an idiot. Let's put it that way. It's that plain and simple. This game now is about quarterbacks and pass rushers. That's what the game of football has turned into. That and if you don't recognize that, then you're behind the times.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Fuck, I got a stain on my orange pants? Yeah.
One summer, he shaved his head, jumped out of a plane, and ate a spider to win Fear Factor. Instead of calling for Shane to come back, I'm yelling for Russell Baxter! He's the smartest man, and this is his tweet of the week.
Oh.
Russell! Happy birthday, come back!
That was hilarious.
So I'm going to not really go rapid fire, but I'm going to give you 3 tweets, but the third one is going to be the best one of the week, and we'll get things kicked off with friend of the show, Adam Rank, who still doesn't follow me on Twitter, by the way, Adam. He sent out a tweet that said, John Gruden's return to the NFL will always be viewed as a success. Well, at least to Bears fans.
He is so good, man. That dude brings some tweets.
He does.
Yeah.
Come meet me at Portillo's and let's get it on.
Let's get it on. That sounds like Russell when he's eating a bowl of oatmeal. Let's get it on.
Is he more of an instant oatmeal guy, or is he like?
Yeah, I think so. I I think he goes, pretty bland. I mean, Friday night he might throw a couple fucking blueberries in there and get crazy, you know?
That just makes no fucking sense.
Shut the fuck up, Russell. Anyways, at Tim Kawakami, he wrote, Chicago, we're about to trade you one of the 2 or 3 best defensive players in the league. We are not giving you a second rounder too. You want that number 2? No deal. Did the Raiders actually believe the Bears would draw the line there? Oh my God.
That's good.
That's great. That was great.
That is a good one.
Whenever I heard they're giving a 2 as well, because Shane called me.
Oh, I couldn't believe it.
Phil, we got him. I know, Shane. I can't believe it. But did you hear? I go, what? The compensation. I'm like, no, what? He's like, they're giving him Jordan Howard and Leonard Floyd. I go, Howard? He's like, yeah. I'm like, fuck. My son's right there. He's looking up at me.
Daddy?
He's like, no, I'm kidding. He's like, we're actually getting a second back. I go, a second back? Like, second back?
Second rounder, unbelievable.
That reminds me of the time I was like in 8th grade, and I still had like, what was it? Maybe it was Genesis games, and I wanted a certain game, and I totally fucking jaked this kid, telling him this game was so great, but I was able to trade him for a great game. My game sucked, but his game, I forget what it was like the best game, and he fucking fell for it. And his fucking father calls my parents like the following Monday. My son wants his game back. My dad's like, what game? Your son's traded. He's like, they traded? You don't fucking get your games back if you traded. That's it.
Good move by your dad. Excellent.
I was worried the Raiders were going to try to take him back. They're like, oh, shit.
Wouldn't you love to have been a fly on the wall? I mean, do you think that Josh Lucas and Ryan Pace are just sitting around and say, you know what? This organization seems to be fucking running into a shoal. Let's just fucking see if we can get a 2 thrown in. You know? I mean,
totally. Shane, that's what fucking totally happened. It's like out of the movie of what was the Cleveland Browns, the Kevin Costner, the draft. Remember?
Yeah, draft day.
They knew they had that team over the coals. They needed a coal. So they didn't want this fucking clown ass. So they did exactly that. They threw in. So, oh my God, they totally did that, Shane.
This is how I picture it. They put him on hold, and Ryan pisses. I think we can get a second rounder out of him.
Yeah.
Ted
holding the phone like to his chest, even though it's muted. Exactly. I think we could get a second rounder.
But then Ted Phillips goes, no. You can't do that to them. You know that'd be insulting. No, don't ask. And then Ryan says, no, let me do it. And then they say yes, and then Ted Phillips is like, his mouth is wide open.
What the fuck? That reminds me, ESPN or NFL Network, one of them had this breakdown of back when, remember Rick Meyer when he got drafted by Seattle? And then, of course, Dave Wanstead blew his fucking wad. And
the 11th pick.
Yeah,
right?
Traded the Bears' first-round draft pick in 1997, I believe it was, to Seattle for Rick Meyer, who had kind of flamed out in Seattle. And the GM, his name is escaping me at the time. He ended up working for the Saints. Randy Mueller, I think it was. Mm-hmm. They interviewed him, and when he was dealing with Wanstead, he called one of his fellow GMs after the deal was consummated, and he goes, "Yeah, we just shipped Meyer to Chicago." And his buddy said, "Well, what did you end up, getting for him?" And he goes, "We got the 11th pick in the draft." And he's like, "You're so full of shit." And he goes, "I'm dead serious. We got their first-round pick." And to make it even worse, the Seattle Seahawks, with that pick, drafted Walter Jones at number 11. Man. So it makes it even worse. But this is the best.
And Shane, we wanted a tight end that year. And we could have landed Tony Gonzalez there.
Yeah, and we took John Allred in round 2.
John Allred. Fucking John fucking Allred.
In the second round, and the year before, or 2 years before, 95, we drafted Todd fucking Sauerbrunn. Punter, second round.
Second round.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Steroid boy from Long Island.
But enough negative. Let's get to this. This tweet is so good that Aldo's not even going to need Blue Chew anymore. He's just going to be strong like bull 24/7. Now this is a long one because Mark Potash is the one that sent it out, and he sent out this image, and it says Vic Fangio's outside linebackers. Khalil Mack not only comes to the Bears with a sterling resume, but is in good hands. Bears defensive coordinator Vic Fangio has a history of success with outside linebackers as linebackers coach of the Saints, defensive coordinator of the Panthers, Colts, Texans, and 49ers. Now here's the list and their production. Ricky Jackson from the Saints, 1987, had 9.5 sacks, and he only played in 12 games because of the strike. Darian Connor from the Saints, 1994, 10.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles and interception. Pat Swilling, 10.5 sacks, All-Pro and Pro Bowl. Pat Swilling again, 1987, 10.5 sacks and only played in 12 games. Pat Swilling again in 1990, 11 sacks, Pro Bowl. Ricky Jackson again, 93, 11.5 sacks and a Pro Bowl. Ronaldo Turnbull, 93, 13 sacks, All-Pro, Pro Bowl, 5 forced fumbles. Lamar Lathon, Carolina Panthers, 13.5 sacks. Pro Bowl and second in the NFL in sacks. Ricky Jackson, 13.5 sacks, All-Pro and Pro Bowl. Aldon Smith, 49ers, 2011, 14 sacks, runner-up for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Kevin Green of the Panthers in 96, 14.5 sacks, All-Pro and Pro Bowl. Kevin Green again in 98, 15 sacks. Pat Swilling in 1989, 16.5 sacks. Pat Swilling again in 1991, 17 sacks. Aldon Smith in 2012, 19.5 sacks, All-Pro, Pro Bowl, NFL Defensive Player of the Year candidate.
Wow.
And now he's adding Khalil Mack to that. Aldo, I don't know, you're probably going to be chubbed up and just keep your doctor's number handy because it's going to last for more than 4 hours. So I don't want you to get lightheaded. But you look at that list and you look at the production. And something that's not being talked about too much, guys, Oakland didn't have a good defense. Khalil Mack was doing this really as a one-man show. Bruce Irvin, he's a nice player. He's surrounded by guys now in Akeem Hicks, in an Eddie Goldman, in Leonard Floyd, if he can stay healthy, Danny Trevathan, Roquan Smith, Nick Kwiatkowski, Kyle Fuller. He's got guys around him. He's not only making the team around him better, these guys are making him better at the same time. So
that's scary.
It is scary. I mean, it's a good scary, but
yeah, that's a great point.
That image or that picture sent out by Mark Potash, I thought was fantastic. And I mean, that kind of was the capper. Like I said, I'm still a little bit numb to this whole thing, but oh man, I read that and I was like, holy shit.
I'm trying to think of Raiders defensive players, and I honestly am struggling to think of anybody else on that defense.
No, I mean, I was
the kid from West Virginia, Joseph, I liked.
Oh, yeah.
He's the safety.
Yeah.
Carl Joseph, right?
Yeah.
Think of him. Linebacker, yeah. I can't name their inside backers, and I can name players like in their college. I can't even name them. Scary.
All right, Shane, you got one more, and this is the tweet of the week. Oh, okay.
No, we just did it.
Yeah, Potty.
I thought you
Mark
said
Potash. That list was. No, I said it was 3, and that was the third one.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I mean, I got extended. The Chicago Bears sent out a tweet. Let me.
He's got one in his pocket.
Thank you.
Yep, and it had
this
a picture.
This is just Aldo's way of testing us.
It had a picture of number 52, and it says, "Welcome to the Chicago Bears, Khalil Mack."
That's the tweet. That's the one that I like. And I like this too. I like back in July 24th. 21st, John Gruden was addressing a bunch of Oakland Raiders fans in Napa, and this is what he told them.
And we're going to find a way to get Khalil Mack back, too.
Didn't quite.
Well, he wasn't wrong. He got him back. He just shipped his ass out to Chicago.
Yeah, you must have been at the top of your fucking class.
And I tell you what, me and Khalil had a good talk right before I traded him to Chicago. I'm like, what is he talking? I'm like, holy shit.
Oh, wait a minute, fellas. We've got a special guest. Liz Losa has just joined us. She is a cast member of the award-winning Fantasy Football Live. Liz writes about fantasy sports for Yahoo Sports and has been featured by the New York Times and CNN. Most recently, she was a panelist at the National Fantasy Football Convention. Welcome to Bears Barroom Radio. You are on the line with Draft Dr. Phil. He's the short-sounding guy, and Shane Marsaw, the smartest man in the barroom. And my name is Aldo. I am just around to laugh at your jokes and to facilitate the conversation. How are you, Liz?
I am great, especially now that I know there's someone hired to laugh at my jokes.
That's why I'm here.
Oh, look at you with the extra guffaw on the end of it. Pay this man some more.
I typically even add laughter sound effects at the end of the show. So whatever you say, you will hear some giggling and snickering and even some applause at certain points. So feel free to say anything goofy you'd like.
Well, hopefully I will be charming enough that you won't need to add laugh track and post.
Tell us a little bit about how you got into the whole fantasy biz.
Sure. Well, it's been a bit of a wild ride. So I grew up in Mount Prospect. My accent's allowed to come out now that I'm on a podcast with you guys. So I grew up in Mount Prospect. My mom was a single mom. She had a law firm in Schaumburg. It's just all coming out now. And my grandfather was therefore my primary caregiver. So my grandpa grew up on the south side, but married a north sider, so he became a Cubs fan, much to the chagrin of the rest of his Comiskey-loving family. And he taught me everything. If we're talking in like stereotypical terms of what boy would know, I was an only child, so he was a World War II vet, fixed cars, hinges on doors. I knew how to diagnose a faulty laundry belt in a washing machine.
Wow.
Like things. He had happy hour, a gin martini with cheese crackers, off-brand from Aldi's at 5 o'clock every day. So I learned about the Cubs, about the Sox, about the Bears, of course, about the Bulls, especially when they had that run in the 90s, and the Blackhawks. And so he just taught me all the things I know. In fact, I like to say in third grade, all the other little girls were princesses, but since he was in charge of my costume, I was Ryan Sandberg. So that was my upbringing. Fast forward a bunch of years, and unfortunately he passed away during the first semester of my freshman college year. And I went to college out east, so I hurried back home. I didn't make it in time to say goodbye to him. And as a way to mourn, it was December, about week 14, I want to say. I just started watching, instead of all the Bears games, every single football game I could on TV, because that was the sport that was running. And I literally posted up in front of the TV and just watched all the football. And it became, this may sound odd to some people, but it became a way for me to mourn. And I started doing it in college every Sunday throughout the NFL season. And fast forward a bunch more years, I was dating this guy who was in this thing called a fantasy football league, which I did not know what it was. But he sheepishly said to me one day, so I have this thing called the NFL ticket, and I paid a lot of money that I probably don't have for it. Would you mind, watching football all Sunday, or, just the morning, or would you mind if I just did? And I was like, are you kidding me? Let's order Chinese food and sit our ass at 5 p.m. And you kidding me? And I was like, no, dude, this is actually what I do. I was just kind of embarrassed to let you know because it's lame. And he was like, it's not lame. And so we would just, all of a sudden he started realizing that I knew all of the players and the schemes and the situations. And so he showed me this fantasy roster and started asking my advice. And lo and behold, I managed that Fools team to a Super Bowl victory. The next year, I wanted in on the action. There happened to be an opening in his league. I won the whole dang thing. The guy said it was beginner's luck. I won it again for the second year in a row. And technically the third, right? Technically the third year in a row. Mm-hmm. And then I started a blog called Fantasy Football Girl because I was like, I'm real good at this. I don't know why there are no women in the space. I think I offer a unique perspective. I started a blog. I started a Twitter feed. Year or two later, I started a podcast, and I just also started a content calendar. Like Mondays, I did a show called As the League Turns and taught myself how to read off a prompter. And Wednesdays, I posted an article. And on Thursdays, we did the podcast. And on Fridays, I did an article called Secret Weapons. And I started my own content calendar and treated it like a full-time job on this blog. And then Scout hired me. And then a year after being with Scout, Yahoo hired me. And I am now entering my 4th season at Yahoo.
That is a fabulous story, and I got it.
It's a long one. Sorry, guys.
No. That's
so, do you want to send any shout-outs now before you leave?
we usually do shout-outs at the end of the show, so that's the inside joke there.
Liz, I got to ask her a question. Did you end up marrying this guy? Because if I had found a chick, and my wife is going to listen to this show, but that loved the NFL, it was winning fantasy football leagues and stuff like that. How does a guy let that go?
So the answer to your question is that idiot with the fantasy had good sense to get down on one knee and ask me to marry him. I said yes, and we now have 2 kiddos together.
Oh, nice. Look at this.
Nice.
I was planning this whole Hallmark movie where the guy...
95% of our audience just said, God damn it. She's taken.
But you know what the thing he likes to remind people of is now that I work professionally in sports, in football especially, every Sunday, I leave for the office at 6 a.m. and I don't come home till 7 or 7:30 p.m., which means he's got a 5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old to entertain all day Sunday instead of sitting on the sofa and watching football.
Yes, it's your job. The roles are reversed in their house, Shane. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, I love this.
So
it's funny, as we busted his. I'm sorry, Al.
That's all right. Go ahead.
We busted his chops. This guy who was an idiot in fantasy football caught the big catch.
How about it? I need to find someone like you because I'm after taking a sabbatical because I got so many whippings at fantasy football. I'm back this season. So where does somebody who has been away from the league for a few years, where do we start to kind of get reacclimated? What's happened in the league? Are running backs still the guys to draft and then followed by wide receivers and then followed by a quarterback and then followed by a defense and a kicker?
Well, welcome back, first of all.
Thank you.
Clearly missed you. People will say that the numbers aren't what they used to be. It's false. But I would say that if there are 5 to 7 stud running backs, now all of them have their fleas. You can pick apart any player, right? But I would say because there have been the proliferation of so many RBBCs and platoons in the league, you're looking at a lot of split backfield. So workhorse backfields, which are rare, obviously hold more value and then will cost you more in your draft. The same is true of stud wide receivers, and those wide receivers are the ones who can drag along any level of talent at the quarterback position. OBJ, DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green, these are prime examples who have sub to average level starters under center, and yet they continue to produce. So those guys are always going to remain the top gets in any draft. But after that, I feel like leaning into value. I know it sounds trite, but everyone wants to say like, oh, the theory this year is 0 RBB or no, it's, some of the fine value wherever else. But I would say like the thing that those different drafting strategies don't take into account is that the talent pool turns over every year. So this year we have incredible depth, especially at the quarterback position, because there are so many rookies who could be making a run at it. And you have these aging quarterbacks like Drew Brees and Tom Brady who still are at the top of their game ostensibly, but that in-between level, like when is Marcus Mariota going to turn over? Can LaFleur do it? Is Jameis Winston going to be anything? We'll see, a month into the season. But those like been in the league 3 to 4 year guys, like there's a lot of question marks. So you find at the quarterback position, Alex Smith is available in like the 10th round of some drafts. That's a pretty good value. Matt Stafford is available in the 8th or 9th rounds of most drafts. And Matt Stafford, people always discount. I mean, I'm picking an NFC North quarterback for good reason here, but he's been the top 8 fantasy producer for 3 consecutive seasons. And now he's got Kerryon in the backfield. He's got Kenny Golladay, NIU Husky. I love it. I think that kid had a 7 touchdown season. And all of a sudden, he can't do worse than last year. And yet, people are drafting him like an afterthought.
I was going to call you Paige.
Jeez, get your shit together.
We're not all the same.
He's so racially stereotyping.
I'm the worst. All right, so here's an evaluation I need you to make. What do you say about a fantasy football owner who picks Jordan Howard with the first overall pick?
I would say that guy's a big Bears fan. I get it.
And you're being kind.
You know what? I'm gonna defend myself here and tell her the whole surrounding story.
Okay.
Liz.
Yes.
Because he can't get your name right, and I just have nothing but truth in this. I believe Jordan Howard is the most underappreciated back in the league. The tape is my evidence to prove it. I go by tape to do my fantasy drafts and not a lot of the stats, but I hear what you're saying in using OBJ and these receivers that can create despite the quarterback skill level. But in this case, to defend, I said, you know what? No matter what, where I pick on this show right here, Bears 100 Proof, I'm going to take Jordan Howard in the first round. So no matter where I pick, I just happen to get the first overall pick. I'm a man of my word, and I honestly am not scared because this kid, I believe, is not going to have stacked boxes. Let's just be honest. One of the dumbest and stupidest offensive coordinators I've ever seen in my history of watching football, as well as a head coach who's as conservative as, Trump's alt-right unit over there. So it's just it's not going to happen. I believe you're going to see it. Coach Nagy has come out, put his Chicago Bears flag in the ground and said, you know what? When the media is trying to manipulate a narrative, Jordan Howard is a 3-down back, and I'm very happy where he's at, and he's going to be out on the football field. He's going to be our workhorse. And if he's not facing those 9 in the box, Liz, as you know, and he's still producing despite 9 in the box and every team trying to stop him, look out for him this year. Just remember, I said it. I'm not afraid. I would have taken him anywhere, and he's going to produce. He's going to double up his touchdowns in an aggressive offense with more weapons and Mitch Trubisky with an offensive coordinator that understands how to trade and motion and give the quarterback what coverages are and what defenses are trying to do. I just know that Jordan Howard is going to be talked about by mid-year as...
We lost Phil. Thank goodness. Did I lose everybody?
I appreciate that this guy is actually going for his guys, because too many people let folks like me get into their heads and then don't draft teams they feel like rooting for. And what's the point? Because this is supposed to be a fun way to get us through the rest of the year, right? So Jordan Howard is underappreciated and undervalued. To take him number one overall without counting the fact that despite the fact that he's worked on his pass catching over the summer means you might be missing out on a guy with a higher value. So here, for example, let me defend you for a second. His yards per carry versus light fronts, 5.4, which was the 5th best in the league last year. This is Jordan Howard. Against base fronts, he's got a 4.0. That's the 23rd best in the league, according to last year's numbers. So will he see a lot of stacked fronts? Probably not. I agree with you. So he will be efficient. However, you could probably have gotten a David Johnson or a Leonard Fournette. I have Leonard Fournette very high this year. He's my number 4 running back overall behind Gurley and David Johnson. I like him ahead of Zeke, in fact, because I do think Zeke is going to see a ton of stacked boxes with the lack of field they have in Dallas. But then you could have gotten Jordan Howard in the 2nd round. So you could have had Leonard Fournette or DJ or Todd Gurley and Jordan Howard as your RB1 and RB2. And then I would have looked for value in those 3rd rounds at receiver. But you didn't do that. Stick to your guns. I appreciate it. And you know what? There are so many pass-catching options in Chicago that maybe Jordan Howard's potential target total wouldn't have mattered overall anyway.
What? Hey, thanks, Aldo.
Was that a cricket in your?
Is that you?
No, that's not me. I think I took care of him. That's the drop.
Liz, last week's show, just to give you a heads up here, the cricket was involved in Shane's house. He had just moved into this new house, and there was 2 crickets that we couldn't get rid of, and it became a joke for the whole show. The crickets were attacking and coming on the show.
I think the crickets are back. I heard them.
Yeah, I think
that wasn't your drop.
No, that was Mr. Gandhi over there. Don't let him fool you. Hey, Liz, I'm the guy on the show that never plays fantasy football. I do a DraftKings thing with some local friends here, but let's find out what's really, really important. Where were you Saturday morning when news broke of Khalil Mack becoming a Chicago Bear?
True story. I was at the wedding of my ex-wise co-host, John Evans, who was a giant Raiders fan. So it was his wedding, and clearly they gave him no present for his wedding.
Oh my! This guy must have been like bittersweet all day. Because he's getting married, and then he finds out maybe the best player on his team is gone and traded away.
I will say, and he is a diehard. Like, the Raiders were mentioned twice in his vows. The couple entered to
oh my God.
He is a diehard, but thankfully, here's the silver lining. It was such a momentous and joyous occasion that it helped shield him from the misery he would have felt otherwise.
Oh my goodness, wow. That is wild.
So hopefully he's filing for divorce Sunday night about 8:20 when Packers and Bears and Mack takes down Rodgers 3-4 times.
Filing for divorce.
I'm just kidding.
Liz, let me ask a question regarding fantasy and actual football. Can fantasy stats, fantasy performance help us get a better indication of how a true football team, NFL team, is doing? Or are these two games, two different entities, and you really don't get the same kind of information? You shouldn't bother to think that way.
I think it's a little bit of both, because ultimately when I'm making a tiebreaker, I always make talent as the tiebreaker. So, watching tape, I think, is really important, because sometimes you'll have a player who is in it. Let's take Adrian Peterson, right? Like, there's a lot of questions as to whether or not he's washed. But if the Redskins' offensive line stays healthy, they're one of the best run blocking units in the league. So does it matter if AP is washed or not? You have to kind of put those into consideration, right? You can watch and see how much juice he has left and how well he's running. And, that to me is like, you look at the situation, you look at the scheme, but if you're deciding between two players, I'm going to choose the player that I believe is the better talent, because I believe in the end, talent wins out.
Well, let me ask you this. I drafted the Bears defense. This wasn't a whole Bears draft by me, by the way. In the 10th round, okay?
That's early. Okay.
Now we have Khalil Mack on top of prior to me drafting them. So I didn't draft them with Khalil Mack. Now that I get Khalil Mack, how much value do I get in your mind with the Chicago Bear defense going into this season?
Well, how many points do you get for sacks?
The commissioner's on the line. Do you know, Aldo?
2 points.
All right. So how many sacks do you think Mack is going to have?
Well, I'm certain he's going to have double-digit sacks.
Okay. So
and then you add Akeem Hicks. You got Leonard Floyd.
He was healthy, right? So that's great. You've got Roquan. You still have a nice safety group, and Kyle Fuller's still there. So I think, if you get 2 points per sack and you think he's going to have, is it 2 or 2.5?
2, he said.
2 points. So you could have what, between 20 and 24, 25 points by the end of the more than you would have had without him?
Right. And on top of what you have there defensively, and then shutouts are a bonus, as well as yards. I guess they break it down. Obviously, that is going into technicalities of whatever the scoring in the league is. But in your mind, is that now one of the top tier defenses in fantasy?
They're ranked in I had my season-long rankings. Yesterday was the last day we were allowed to tweak on them, and I think I had them in my top 4 or 5. I've got Jacksonville, obviously, the Rams, San Diego, and the Bears are all at the top there for me.
Hey, Liz, you have a coach like Matt Nagy coming into Chicago, and he's really going to be a tight end-based offense. And you have a guy in Trey Burton that really didn't get a chance to shine in Philadelphia, but is really going to be a focal point. I think he's going to be a guy that leads the Bears in receptions at the end of the year. Where should people be looking at a guy like that in terms of picking up a tight end in fantasy, a guy like Trey Burton?
Over the summer. So I thought people were a little bit too excited about the Trey Burton hype train because Adam Shaheen was still there. And it was a year ago that everybody was expecting Shaheen to be this sleeper tight end in fantasy because he's such he's more of a wide receiver. He's built like a wide receiver, and he's frankly taller and stronger than Trey Burton, but he's done with a foot. And you've heard all of these reports, obviously, that Nagy wants to use Trey Burton in the Travis Kelce U role in his offense. So I think, spoiler alert, I have week 1 tight end projections, and I projected Burton to grab 5 for 61 and a touch.
Oh, I like that. All right, Liz, I want you to evaluate my fantasy team against Phil's fantasy team, okay?
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
At quarterback, he's got Drew Brees, and I have Matt Stafford.
Okay.
At running back, I have Todd Gurley and Kenyon Drake. He has Jordan Howard and who's your other?
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry. At tight end, he's got Travis Kelce, and I have some bum. I've got O.J. Howard, the emerging O.J. Howard. And then at wide receiver, I have Mike Evans and Emmanuel Sanders, and he has, you remember, Phil?
Golden Tate, Sammy Watkins.
There you go. Okay.
Sterling Shepard.
All right, and I've got, since he mentioned the third wide receiver, my third wide receiver is Alshon Jeffrey. So who has a better team just based on what you heard there?
So far, Alshon Jeffrey's out, so who are you rolling in his stead?
Don't help him. He probably left him in.
No, he's on my bench. Randall Cobb.
Oh, shit. So, still, your third wide receiver, I was leaning towards you. You had me.
Until Randall Cobb.
Randall Cobb's been he's on the trade block, and he's been in and out of a walking boot all summer. So you got to find yourself a third wide receiver. I think they're pretty. I would give you the advantage, assuming you can find yourself a third wide receiver.
What is it about?
What
is it
My
about?
team's 20 times better, Liz. What are you?
What is
You
it
should
about
have been
Phil's?
giving grades per position.
No. She doesn't have time for that. Will, what is it about Phil's team that is particularly ugly?
Well, so who were you had
Let's do this again. Matt Stafford or Drew Brees?
Stafford, Jordan Howard, Derrick Henry, Travis Kelce, and then who are your wideouts?
Sammy Watkins, Golden Tate, and Sterling Shepard.
So Sterling Shepard is great value.
Right.
Golden Tate is not a big red zone option. He's a great yards after the catch. So if this is a PPR league, that's a great play. If this
It is a PPR.
1 point PPR, yeah.
Oh, it's full point PPR. Okay, so Golden Tate gets more of an upgrade then. Sammy Watkins is a little bit concerning because his chemistry with Mahomes has not been great, and he's struggled to figure out the playbook, which is not a new thing, but we actually have seen repeatedly from him. So I like that Andy Reid wants to move him all over the field. The question is, can he be moved all over the field?
Travis Kelce or O.J. Howard?
Travis Kelce, absolutely.
Exactly. I'm disappointed in you, Liz.
I mean, you're really
the Brown education. I was expecting things from you. My parents live in Charleston, Rhode Island. I wanted to have that East Coast vibe.
He was gonna write a song about you. Now that's all out the window.
I was gonna write a song about when you come back on, and I'm the champion of this league. And Jordan Howard is the highest scoring fantasy running back, and people are changing their narrative. Will you come on if he does that?
If Jordan Howard is the RB1 in PPR format,
yeah,
exactly. I will fly to Chicago and do the damn show live.
Woo!
All right, there we go.
Bring the kiddies. How old are your kids?
Let me ask you this question, Liz.
Yes.
Because I could see your personality is very upfront and honest, and I like that. You're sitting across one of my favorite actors of all time and comedians, Eddie Murphy. What is that like?
Well, Eddie Murphy, I was much more excited to sit across from Eddie Murphy was to sit across from me.
What's wrong with him?
Film life, and he was like, "Oh, hello." He was very nice, and then he did his scene and the coverage, the camera, his coverage of the scene. So the camera was on him. When the camera was turned around for my half, his stand-in worked opposite me.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's typical. I mean, he went back to his dressing room, but that is not abnormal. He was late, which worked out great for me because we ended up going overtime and I got paid more.
Yay!
Of course he was late. What do you think? Of course he's late.
Liz, what are the names of your kids? You've got 2, correct?
I do. I have a little boy who just turned 5, and his name is Paxton, and then a little girl who is 20 months old, and her name is Lennox.
Oh, how cute.
Oh, nice.
Well, we know you've got to get back to them. We appreciate the half hour that you spent with us. Any last fantasy advice that you want to give our listeners? A player perhaps who may be in the weeds, or maybe available on waivers, or a fantasy tip about how to manage the team throughout the season?
Sure. I got a bunch of them. All right.
Cool.
At running back, keep an eye on Jordan Wilkins. He's a rookie. Marlon Mack still coming back from a hamstring injury. Kristen Michael is there, but I cannot fall into the Kristen Michael narrative again. Jordan Wilkins is a nice north-south runner with a pass-catching ability. He could be electric in space. Naheem Hines has taken a while to turn over there, so I think Jordan Wilkins is like one of those sleeper late-round guys, or even someone if you want to grab off of your waiver wire. He's owned, and I believe only like 20%, 30% of Yahoo leagues. So he's available in the majority of leagues. John Ross, the second-year receiver in Cincinnati. He is available in upwards of 80% of Yahoo leagues. He's a speedster, the fastest man in football. He had that 4.2 combine speed. But really, like, his rookie year was marred by injury, and then he fell behind. Now Brandon LaFell is a Raider, so he figures to line up opposite Brandon LaFell. Opposite AJ Green. So that's a pretty good gig. Should get a nice amount of looks. And he's definitely a boom or bust player, but he's going to have some big weeks, and I like him a lot this week against Indianapolis, actually, as well, and he's widely available. At tight end, this is a signature Losa sleeper special. Keep an eye. Give him a minute, but keep an eye on Jordan Akins in Houston. He made the cut. He's an older rookie. That team needs a tight end. Could be the best friend to Deshaun Watson. Nobody is talking about him. If he can contribute quickly, he will be one of those breakout guys. Now, again, it's a rookie, so who knows, but that team is desperate for a body over the middle. Steven Anderson's cut. Ryan Griffin's still there, but he hasn't been healthy in a while, so keep an eye on that guy.
Gotta tell you that your kids and your husband are very lucky to have a mom/wife like you who knows fantasy football and can give such great tips. I haven't even heard of some of these players, Jordan Wilkins and Jordan Akins.
A lot of Jordans. What about Howard and the? No. I'm gonna follow you, Liz, on Twitter.
Where can we follow you?
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Where can we follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at LizLoza_FF. If you like pictures of kids and glasses of rosé, then you can follow me on Instagram at LizLoza_FF. Every Sunday, I would love for you fantasy footballers to watch Fantasy Football Live. We have a 90-minute live show 90 minutes before kickoff every Sunday on Yahoo Sports. And Brad Evans is a Bears fan. He's a colleague and also a cast member on the show, as is Andy Behrens, who lives in Chicago. So you've got a bunch of Bears fans representing on Fantasy Football Live. And like I said, 90 minutes before kickoff. You don't even have to, don't even except for Wednesday night because you have to worry about Thursday. Tune into Fantasy Football Live. We've got it covered for you. Oh, my gosh. And this week, Thursday, I am premiering a show called Mostly Football, which Yahoo Sports is doing in conjunction with Complex, and it's starring former Bears tight end Martellus Bennett.
Whoa!
Oh boy!
Nice.
Oh boy!
Wait a minute!
You gonna paint together?
Shane has.
I don't know what's gonna happen, man. I gotta be honest. Me and Ben Lyons will be doing that show together.
Can you pass on a message to Martellus Bennett from Shane Marsall, the smartest man in the barroom? Go ahead, Shane.
Hi, Martellus.
Come on.
Shane doesn't want to.
All right, Phil, go ahead. You tell him.
Well, you could tell Martellus he was an utter disappointment in Chicago with his attitude. I wish he came because God gave him every attribute known to a football tight end, and he just decided when
he was good year one.
Yeah, year one he came in and wanted to prove himself, and then all of a sudden, it was such a disappointment to see that kind of guy. Not to bring a negative vibe, Liz, but that would be what I would tell him. I'd keep it 100.
I will definitely not tell him that. Certainly not when we premiere, the day we premiere.
Yeah, don't do that.
I just followed at Liz Loza _FF.
I did too.
I just like Liz because not just because she knows her shit, it's because she keeps it 100, and that's what we are on this show, Liz. That's why we're just so straightforward and honest. I believe Howard's gonna surprise Liz Loza. I'm putting that stamp down, Liz. Draft Dr. Phil. I just followed you. We're going to keep at it.
I will take the first Uber down to Cicero or wherever you tape this, and if that happens.
I'm in Connecticut.
Oh, yeah.
Shane's up in upstate New York, and Aldo is in Chicago, but yeah, I'll fly to Chicago to do the show live.
Yeah, I'm far away from Cicero, by the way, where the mobsters are.
I don't even know where Cicero is.
Cicero's
is it an Italian neighborhood over there?
Where Al Capone used to hang out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yes, I think. Anyway, Liz, thank you very much for spending over a half hour with us. I know you've got some little ones at home that need attending to, and we hope to have you back on sometime, maybe during the middle of the season, so you can tell me about my 6-0 football team.
All right, guys, thank you so much for having me. You're unleashing me to the children who will definitely want to wrestle or do something that I will fake want to do. And it's the most fun you've ever had. I love playing. It's so great.
Yeah, I got twin boys that are 4. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And boys, oh my God.
Real
quick, just because this is a parenting pod a little bit, but my son loves to play anything superheroes, any kind of wrestling, and I'm down, right? Like, I am that mom who is like throwing them around in the backyard, but he like every superhero is like He-Man, Batman, right? So he calls me Her-Man.
Nice. This kid's creative.
He's always like, let's play Her-Man, Mommy. And I was like, you just don't have to. How about we just play superheroes? You don't have to add the man on the end.
Liz, it's socially acceptable these days. She's a Her-Man. We don't know
All this, let's just say, let's play a game of non-binary superheroes.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Exactly. I love it.
And I am 100% okay with that. So anyway, the East Coast, my goodness, I spent 4 good years there. My Cafe Nuovo in Providence is like my favorite Italian restaurant ever. Their Cosmo is so good.
I'll take my wife. We're going to go up. We're going up to Providence in a few weeks.
Fun. So, I'm jealous.
Cafe Nuovo?
Cafe Nuovo on the water at the riverfront. It is.
I know exactly where that is. I'm going to go there, but I don't know where the restaurant is. But I'm going to go there. I'm going to say Liz Losa sent me.
You do that, and you tweet me a picture of you and your wife, and I will. That will bring back so many. I mean, not like when I was in college, I could afford that. I once had whatever. It's a great
He got on his knees. You said yes.
No, that was years later. Anyway, thank you guys. I hope to be back, and go Bears. Anthony Miller. Why didn't we talk about Anthony Miller?
Come on, I
was going to.
The ball.
No.
This guy's asking you questions about others. I want to know Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller.
If you've got time, Liz, go for it.
All right. Real quick, I don't hear the monsters coming in the front door yet. Okay.
Awesome.
Allen Robinson, week 1. Here's the thing. Allen Robinson, the best thing I saw was the fact that he was lining up not just on the outside, but also via the slot. So I think they're trying to use him as a true number 1 receiver all over the field. That's great. I think he probably has, 6 to 7, maybe. I'd say 6 or 7 catches week 1. I'd give him 80-plus yards. I don't think he scores because, like I said, I think Burton is going to be the end zone target quite often. Anthony Miller has secured. I've met the kid, by the way, and he is excellent. He is, and he was my number 5 ranked wide receiver heading into the 2018 NFL draft. I love what he did. I think he comped similarly to Doug Baldwin. Tough player, and he is a hard worker, great human being. He has secured that slot position. I'm just not sure in terms of fantasy relevance. Like, at his ceiling, he's this year's Cooper Kupp. Otherwise, the question is whether he'll get the volume enough, especially with a young, developing quarterback under center.
Liz, another question on a receiver. Is Kevin White getting drafted in fantasy drafts? Say that again.
He is not being drafted in fantasy, but hope springs eternal.
Yeah.
This girl is money. I love this.
She's money. Hey,
she really is.
Wouldn't it be cool to have a fantasy football league where you have to try to get the lowest points from a pool of certain players?
Oh, I'm in. I'll clean up on that.
That would be fun.
We haven't talked about Tariq Cohen either. What's going on? What's going on with my man Tariq?
Tariq Cohen, the human joystick, could be this year's Tyreek Hill. I mean, you've seen Matt Nagy talk about how fun it's going to be to use him. But again, like, all of this bodes well for the Bears, but from fantasy, there just seem to be so many mouths to feed, and you're so reliant on Trubisky, who is great on the move, but I want to see him corkscrew his feet into the ground and complete a pass. You know, like, I want to see him. His mechanics are still not totally developed. Now, Nagy could potentially be the person to do that, but does the system take over this first year, or does it take another year for everything to run more smoothly? Like, not everybody can be McVay right away.
Wow, she's breaking this down.
I love it.
Honestly, what about Mike Burton?
Oh, that's where I was going to go. That's where I was going.
Why is Mike Burton on an NFL roster, Liz?
You know, I got to be honest. I don't know who the hell Mike Burton is.
Yes. Hold on.
He's a hermit.
Let her say that.
He's a hermit.
Let her say that
Mike
again.
Burton's like a fullback or something, right?
Yes.
That's exactly correct. Yeah.
But say it again. I don't know who Mike Burton is for a drop, please.
I don't know who Mike Burton is.
We're trying to figure out why he's on the roster, and nobody can give us a straight answer. So
I would trust in Nagy. He seems to know what he's doing. And oh my God, Vic Fangio. But here's it's how many years has it taken Vic Fangio to get a defense to look similarly to what he had in San Francisco? You can't expect
Liz.
Same changes.
Mm-hmm.
Liz, this is going to be a big year for the Bears defense.
Hey,
I know you got to take on the kiddies, but I'm excited about this team.
Is going to run out the clock with that defense. That's it. There you go.
Hey, Liz, I got a pet peeve about fantasy football. How come we don't reward teams or players that pick up first downs? Give them a point. Instead of giving somebody a point for a reception when he could catch the ball 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage and not get any yards, and he gets a point, and somebody who picks up a first down doesn't get a point. That's ridiculous.
Well, you know what? Yahoo has customized scoring. So if you would like that, draft on Yahoo and customize your scoring.
Well,
it's an option.
I am on Yahoo, so
look at Liz. Look at Liz. She had an answer. That's actually a pretty good idea, Aldo.
Yeah, I'm surprised more leagues don't do it. I guess I'm not complaining about the league scoring system. I'm complaining about commissioners who don't incorporate that into their scoring. I just think it's silly not to reward performance.
Well, then you can have a reception. So on a 3rd and 7, guy catches the ball. He gets a point.
Right.
Then he gets a first down on top of it because he got it at 8, so that's 2 points.
Right.
So then it would, something like that. That's actually pretty, because third downs are so critical.
Exactly. Well, anyway, Liz, before you leave, can we bug you to do a station ID for us? Just say your name, say where you work, and say you're listening to Bears Barroom Radio.
No problem. All right. Hey, this is Liz Losa of Yahoo Sports, and you are listening to Bears Barroom Radio.
Wow, that was awesome.
One take, Liz.
Nice.
Woo-hoo. One take, Liz.
Guys, I make a moderate amount of money. And by moderate, I mean not a lot of money.
What movie was that with Eddie Murphy, real quick?
Yeah.
It was called, I don't remember, but it's a...
That's a long title.
And take a look. I think it was because it changed names in the middle. Like the name when I was cast was a different, but it was basically this. Like Eddie Murphy is a guy who hates family, and then he gets this daughter, kind of like Annie, like a modern day Annie-ish.
Oh.
Or something. I don't. You guys, it was a while ago.
It's all right.
He
can edit that out if you want.
He's made a bunch of really bad movies over the last few years since his prime time days of 48 Hours in Beverly Hills.
Oh my God, I loved it.
I mean, I'm looking at his IMDb, and there's he did Shrek. He voiced Shrek, and those are good movies. But Far, Far Away, Idol, Father of the Pride, The Haunted Mansion, Daddy Daycare, I Spy, The Adventures of Pluto Nash. That has to be one of the worst movies I've ever seen, The Adventures of Pluto Nash.
If you guys keep going, you'll get to the movie I was
The Haunted Mansion, Daddy Day. Oh, we did those already. Anyway,
we did all those.
Liz, thanks very much for coming on board, and we'll be looking for you on your fantasy football live show on Sunday mornings, 90 minutes before kickoff.
Thank you so much, and don't forget the Marty Bennett show as well.
Okay.
That's right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye
Liz.
now, Liz. Thank you so much. Good lady.
Oh, imagine that. That was the name of the damn movie. There you go. You're
Imagine that.
Yeah. I'm out now. Goodbye.
I thought you had left. Thank God we liked you. No, she was really good.
Oh, my goodness.
I thought she was getting ready to trash us there. Imagine that. These fucking assholes.
You know what happened is I accidentally played that damn cricket sound effect. I don't know. I spilled some beer on my mouse pad on my laptop, and now it's like ultra sensitive. And so,
really?
Yeah. So all of a sudden, I'm hearing a cricket sound, and I'm thinking, "Oh no, did I just?"
You did fuck me up there when you first did it, because I'm like, no fucking way. I sprayed the shit up.
He's getting ticks. He's getting ticks.
The shit that I bought, it's exterior and interior. So here I am in our new fucking hardwood floors, fucking spraying shit. I'm like, this says that this is safe for your flooring, and I'm like, man, if this fucks up, Hila's gonna fucking kill me when she gets home. And fucking got 2 cats and a dog, and I'm like, the cats will be fucking fine. So I'm like hoping they weren't dead when I showed back up later on today.
Oh, Jesus.
Phil, before we close, you wanted to get Shane's take about something that you and Danny talked about on Bears Hour Live?
Shane, I wanted to get your take. I was sad that you weren't with me and Danny impressed me, stepped up in the pocket to throwing strikes. And but did you oh my God, I just lost my question.
It'll come to you.
Holy fuck. I got distracted by Shimon's performance. Holy shit.
Blueberries are good for your memory, Phil. So
I need to fucking
get
a
some
couple
from
of
Russell.
bowls from Russell, a couple of oatmeal. Holy shit. It was there and it went away. Fuck.
You wanted my take on something from BHL.
I know. It was an important thing. Danny agreed with me too about it, and I was wondering, fuck.
Well, maybe it'll come to you during the shoutouts.
Yes, maybe it will.
Oh, let me begin with a couple of shout-outs. We've got a couple of new articles popping up on the website on Wednesday morning at bearsbarroom.com. Matt Karstensen is writing about how the pundits don't always get it right. In fact, they almost always get it wrong. And so when they say that the Bears don't have a chance to make the playoffs, despite the fact that they have got Khalil Mack, don't really listen to them because they're typically wrong. So that's going to be cool to read on Wednesday morning over at bearsbarroom.com. Also, Joe Mandel has some fantasy football advice. So if you're playing fantasy football this season, take a look at Joe's advice on who to start and who to sit. And check this out. We have a new writer at bearsbarroom.com. You guys,
oh, really?
Yes. You guys are going to trip out about this. His name is Steven Zimmerman. He used to write over at the Bears Brothers.
No, he's converted.
He's converted. He said he had a great time writing over there, but he wanted to step up into the majors, and so now he's
got out of the D League. Welcome to the big boys.
So he makes his debut over at bearsbarroom.com. Welcome to the team, Steven Zimmerman. We really appreciate you volunteering to help us feed the bearsbarroom.com with some cool material.
Does he know that we don't have pillow fights and we don't live with our mothers? Like the other
Aldo, please don't yell at him on his first day. Please don't yell at him on his first day. How dare you attack anybody out there?
I talked to him on the phone for about 20 minutes, and he sounded like the type of guy who would not be afraid of me if I got mad at him. So I think he deserves a place at Bears Bar Room.
Yes, pull up a fucking chair for the Zim man. Is he the guy that's in the chat?
Yeah, that's him. That's him.
That dude throws some great questions.
He does.
How weird is this? And Aldo, did you tell me about this beforehand?
No, not at all.
I have a plan to shout him out tonight.
Oh, check it out.
How the fuck is this?
It's
Look at
freaking
What's his Twitter handle?
What's his Twitter handle?
Let me see. Hold on a second. Kill some time here while I look it up.
So Shane, I'm about to shout this. I cannot, for the fucking life of me, remember the fucking question. This has happened to me twice in my life, where it just went away, and then
twice. Okay,
I'm dead serious. Like that. I literally got sidetracked by complimented Shimon, and I can't remember what I was gonna ask you. Like I was sitting here thinking about it. Like, what was I gonna fucking ask? I'm talking to myself.
Have you guys heard one fucking cricket from my end? I think I did a pretty good fucking job, right?
You murdered all those fuckers.
Yeah,
I did. I slaughtered a bunch of those fuckers.
I think Liz Losa wasn't keen on the crickets. She thought like Aldo was playing them because she wasn't funny. I go, that fucking didn't work very well.
I think I turned her off when I said I hope her friend divorces his wife when Khalil Mack wraps her up.
I went upstairs to get a drink. Steph's like, "What are you laughing at?" I go, Shane sent me a fucking text. I showed her the text before I explained it. That joke went over like a fart in church. I go, she's like, what does he mean? I go, I had to tell her the story because he took a quick break. And she's like, oh my fucking God. I go, yeah. You don't tell anyone you want them to be divorced. Oh, jeez.
It was all a good fun.
That was funny.
Yes, it is.
All right, Phil, what else do you got there in the world of shoutouts?
Did you find the Ziminator?
I don't have it, but I will find it. I just sent him an email, so hopefully he'll get it to me by the end of the show.
Okay. But, I'm shouting him out because I just pour the love and affection for people that go into the chats and talk to us on Twitter. Even if you're debating, there was a Viking fan that was having a friendly debate about the move and trying to compare it to Moss, but he handled himself with class. He didn't drop trow and subtweet and make gifs and do all this other bullshit. We had a debate, and we in these fucking debates anyway. Who's gonna win? It's like back in the day, Aldo, when we had breakdancing battles. Who the fuck won? The audience would decide. Half of the audience was everyone's boys, so it never was decided. So,
how many breakdancing battles were you in, Aldo?
He was in a few, he said.
Never.
I thought you were in a few breakdancing battles, Aldo. No?
Oh, hell no. I go back to the John Travolta Saturday Night days.
Aldo's like, that's before my time. I'm like, oh, I thought he breakdanced. I thought he was like Ozone and breaking.
No.
Don't you remember Electric Boogaloo?
Oh, remember that film? Did you not? I was breaking too. Electric Boogaloo. And one of my favorite songs of all time.
I got
Shaka
Steven
Khan.
Zimmerman's Twitter. It is at Raging Bear Fan. Raging Bear Fan. At Raging Bear Fan. That's our man, Steven Zimmerman.
I'm following him right now. Let me get it. If it's there. Real quick.
At Raging Bear Fan.
All It's not popping up yet, but I'm going to follow you, Steve.
I'll send it out.
Say Angry Bear Fan? At Raging Bear Fan?
At Raging, RAGING BEARFAN. At Raging Bear Fan. Steven's
Is he from Colorado?
Yeah, that's him. He lives out in Denver.
Okay.
Look at this.
Follow.
Why is he not fucking popping up for me?
Probably blocked your ass.
Oh, it's Bear. It's Bear.
Yeah, it's Bear.
There it is. He's in. He's followed. Shout out to at Raging Bear Fan. How about that? He's getting a lot of promo for rookie writer. Get on it, Aldo. Get on his ass. Give him a fucking talking to. Fucking love that. Let me say something. Aldo, shouting out you tonight. You bring this family together. You're always praising and doing things behind the scenes, and everyone's working, and your silky smooth voice. I was going through past shows, and I was listening to David Kaplan and Adam Rank, Mike North's first show, the reason he came here, just listening to the boss man divvy out the rock and pass it around and handle. It was just silky smooth. I just don't think this even happens without you. I like to pat myself on the back, as you know. And some people that rubs the wrong way, I could give 2 fucks. I ain't gonna change because
that should have been my tweet of the week.
Because I don't care. I love what we're doing here. And,
this is fun.
And those of you that love it and have so much fun with us, because you know what? That's what it's about. This is real. And I sometimes will go over the line and I'll be the first. But I'm not going to let JJ Stankevitz tell us that Mike Burton's an okay blocker. I'm your guy that's going to speak. No, I'm going to say. And Aldo and Shane were probably like, oh, shit, here goes Phil. I could hear you in my head, but I can't let that go. And that's why I love Aldo, because he believes in Shane and myself and this show. America's #1 Bears podcast right here.
He's so fucking...
Mom! Jeez.
I know, we didn't get an Aldo's mother. Everybody loves Aldo's mom.
I know.
So we gotta keep that going, but...
I don't know who she is, but I'd love her fucking number.
I want to shout out Bears Girl for the swag shop. It's getting out there. I bust your balls because that's what we do here. This fucking swag shop reminds me of Nikki's appearances on anywhere. They just never happen. I call Lil Nicky Mirage, not Nicki Minaj, because I've never seen him. So the swag shop, I'm like, Shane, we ain't fucking seen. I'm listening to past shows. It's fucking November of last year. The swag shop's coming. We're testing stuff. But she has worked so hard.
Yeah.
I give it to you, but it's there. You know, it's rolling, and Aldo has shown us the products. I'm so proud to be a part of this. So wanted to get those 3 shout outs, Zim, but I also want to shout out one more guy, actually a few more guys that deserve a shout out. Chachi, Frankie Myers. You know, defend the goddamn product. Stand up if you believe in something. You know, I hate when people just follow the leader and just the wrong leader's leading you. That's why I wanted to ask JJ, who's the leader? I thought it was important.
Right.
Is it Mac? Is it Akeem? No, it's clearly that. To me, really gets me excited for this season. But in this case, I wanted to make sure Frankie Myers got a shout out. And really, last but not least, this week.
Did you come over and rub my chachi?
Yes. I want to
forgot about that drop.
Last but not least, you got
Joe Moscone.
Oh, Joe!
Joe, MOSC as in Charlie, ONE 77. Couldn't make it to the Mott's. Wanted to catch up with me. He's gonna be in Chicago when I come up there. and pop a cork with Aldo and all the Barfly. Whoever comes, I'm going to be there to chat it up with you. If you could tell, I love to talk. I love people most. I love it. Maybe second to football and family, or third, we should say. And I just love meeting new people that just love to debate and talk football. So Joe Moscone, thanks for the kind words. Thanks for the praise of the bar room. And thanks for spreading the word. The ambassadors are the key. I'm excited, Aldo. My dream came to fruition. Get these barflies that speak up a show. Let them speak up. Led by Bobby Phelan and Nicki Minaj. And this show is coming together every Sunday. I know you're going to promo it, but I want to shout those guys out tonight. Born of this show, Shane. So I don't know. Was Happy Days first or Laverne and Shirley? How did that go?
Happy Days was first.
Yeah. Well, I'm dating myself, right?
Yeah.
I was a young kid.
We're happy.
Please try the fish.
So, there you go. We'll see how they do. I'm excited to listen in and be a part of this crazy crew of characters that we call Bears Barroom and the Barflies. One more shout out. Sorry, in my note, Ashley. Ashley has been praising Bears Barroom. I wish I had her Twitter handle up here. I left my notepad from work at work, but Ashley is a barfly, shouting out Bears Barroom, promoting everything we do here on Facebook and Twitter. That means a lot to us, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, Ashley is great. Hey, I got to tell you guys something. It's pretty funny. Let me lower the music here. The guys sent me a test of the new Barfly tailgate show. They did a run through. They've done a number of them. These guys are working really hard to put out a great product, and I'm really excited that this thing is just going to be a very, very unique show. But the one thing that's going to feel really familiar to us is there were a number of times during this 1.5 hour test that Bobby Phelan would go over to Nikki and say, okay, Nikki, so how do you feel about this? And then there's silence.
Really?
The old mute button.
Nikki, where are you? Nikki, okay, we'll come back to Nikki later. And so I'm thinking to myself, if this happens on Sunday, I am going to be ready with that car crash sound effect, man.
If you don't do it, you're no longer the super producer.
Oh, trust me, I will be ready, brother.
Get that button. It's almost like the Stern Show back in the day. They had to have that button to silence, or beep. You have to have the car crash button ready.
Exactly. I got some stories about that, but we'll save them for a different show. Shane, you got a shout out or two?
Yeah, I have a couple, actually.
Look at you.
I gotta tell all you guys here that wanted Ryan Pace fired to kiss my fucking ass, first off. And I'm gonna shout out Ted Phillips, George McCaskey, and Virginia McCaskey for stepping the fuck up, driving the last nail in the coffin of the cheap narrative, and they deserve every shout out from everybody. I mean, they just paid out the largest contract in NFL history to a defensive player just on a whim. I mean, they stepped the fuck up and they brought this guy home. Ryan Pace, Sweaty Teddy, George, Virginia. You guys get my shout outs this week.
Respect the elderly, motherfucker.
They do have to believe in their GM and their coach to do this. Obviously, it's pretty easy to see the talent, but you're 100% right to back it up with cash. Aldo, remember in the offseason, I'm flipping out on the show. You got to fucking pay. Open the pocketbook. You got all this money. What are you saving it for? They attacked it. Now they're holding all this money, and I'm like, what are they doing? Shane, to his credit, Phil, do you think they have something in the works? That's truth. That's how we do it here. And look at this. Something in the works? We're talking about the best 4th of July fireworks I've ever seen in my life. And getting fucking the 52 pickup is what I coined it.
I like it.
In Bears Barroom. And there is nothing better than seeing that blue, orange, and white on that guy. Oh,
I just felt such a relief.
I don't remember what show that was from where you said that, but I've always loved that drop. Felt such a relief.
You finally dropped it.
I finally dropped it.
Is that what you say, like after 3 days of eating? Honey, I finally dropped it.
Oh my God!
What? A few snakes. I never
got rid of that
snakes.
snake. Yeah, me either.
Is it a boa constrictor?
I wish I had a boa constrictor come out of my ass. All right, everybody, remember, if you drink, please do not drive. And on Sunday, we got the Barfly Tailgate Show. On Friday, we got Mike North Advantage. On Wednesday, we got Buffon 55. I think somewhere in between there, we got Fantasy Football Goon. It's going to be a unique show, I think, because the Tooch is either going to be calling in from the Philippines where he's vacationing, or someone else is going to be filling in for the Tooch. So I'm desperately want to hear what is going on, and I'm gonna pop in with some fantasy football tips as well. So we've got tons of stuff here at the Bears Barroom Radio Network, and of course our signature show right here, right now, Bears 100 Proof. So remember, if you drink, please do not drive, and always bear down.
Yeah, and fuck the Packers.
Nice job,
Even
fellas.
I'm a Bears ball washer.
I thought that was a drop for a second.
Your Mike North impersonation is getting better and better.
I could see Shane like working on it, delivering the mail every day. Like
I do. I got a lot of time out there.
Do you ever like pull it out? Like if a woman's coming out to get the mail from you, did you have any of those?
No, I haven't. I love to fuck with telemarketers, so I busted out on them.
Did you get it with the DirecTV people?
No, I haven't done it. Somebody called me the other day and they said, "You need a loan, right?" I'll just sit there and talk to him for 5 fucking minutes, and Hila just sitting there shaking her head. Will you hang the fucking phone up? I'm like, no, I love. He'll say, "Hello, my name is Nicholas." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." I'm sure.
You don't bring that. You got next time you do it.
Yeah, I'll do them.
Bring out the Mike North impression with him.
Yeah, I'll try it out. Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Scream to BB in the background. Bring me some cookies.
Exactly. We gotta get a BB. Bring me some cookies. Fucking T-shirt.
Oh, I love that idea.
Yeah.
It's got to be on the back, though. Like on the front, it's like...
The Mike
I don't know yet.
His show title, Mike North Advantage. And then on the back...
There you go. The Mike North Advantage. I'm giving you locks. And then on the back, it says, "Hey, BB, get me some cookies."
I love it. By the way, I was on Mike's show, his movie show, Mike at the Movies, and I posted that on bearsbarroom.com if you're interested in finding out who his favorite directors are and my favorite directors. If you're a movie fan, check it out during your free time.
Yeah, check it out.
You don't need TV now, and not with the Bears Ballroom Radio Network. You got audio coming out of your ass.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you this. Is it clear to you guys as much as it is to me that Mike wants Ed Norton to play him in?
Oh, my gosh. I think it's a good choice.
Every show. Ed Norton, you know he's a good actor. He kind of looks like me. He's got the same body type. I get it, Mike. Let's get Ed Norton.
I planted the Justin Timberlake idea, and so
I thought that was a great idea. That was a good one.
I did a little research.
I like Evangeline Lilly in that role. I'm gonna double down.
That is fantastic. There is a resemblance too. She's a very
That's what struck me.
I think Phil and I need to be extras on that. Like we're coming up to the hot dog stand.
God.
Fucking A.
Could we?
I think, Shane, you should play Dan McNeil. You know who Dan McNeil is?
Yeah.
Danny McNeil. Start firing bombs. Were they friends?
Yeah, they were friends.
Oh, okay. Were or are?
I think they still are friends. I'm pretty sure they are.
Okay.
And then, Phil, you can play like the station manager, Pig Vomit.
Did you see that? Did you see that tweet somebody sent out with, from Private Parts? Who was the guy that played Pig Vomit?
Oh,
what was his name?
Oh, yeah,
Giamatti, Paul Giamatti.
I think Trey put that out there.
Oh, is that who it was? That was great.
Yeah.
He walks in and says, you motherfuckers.
After they
traded Mack. Yeah, love it.
Oh man, there's a lot of great memes and posts regarding this whole Khalil Mack thing. I would love to collect them all and put them on the website because it's very entertaining.
Absolutely.
All right, fellas. I am going to start doing some editing after I do some snake work.
Are you snaking wires through your ceiling?
I wish.
Oh my God!
Great job!
God, it's gonna kill me what I wanted to ask him. I don't. Holy fuck! It's gonna come to me tomorrow at 6 a.m. I'm gonna text you.
If it comes to you in the next hour, record it on audio and put it in Slack, and I'll put it at the tail end of the show.
Yeah, if it does, I will. I promise.
Yeah, lead up to it. 6 hours later.
Exactly.
People are going to be like, what the Phil? I bet you. They're going to start asking me tomorrow.
Oh,
seriously,
for sure.
Tooch is going to be the guy. So what were you going to ask Shane?
Great job, everybody.
Great job. A lot of fun. A lot of great stuff.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was.
Hell of a show.
I've had to mention Liz to bring it back to make it, you know what I'm saying? I almost mentioned her prior. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, shit. So it really worked out well.
Yeah, it did. It did. I can't fucking believe I called her Paige.
Oh, that was hilarious.
That was so fucking funny, Aldo. I was dying when you did that because the whole fucking time I'm like telling myself in my head, don't call her Paige. Don't call her Paige. Don't call her Paige. And then you fucking did that. I'm like, no fucking way. He was thinking the same thing I was.
You put it on him.
Yeah.
The fucking, what nationality are you? I know you're white, but what else? I'm just joking. What are you? What's your nationality for real?
Me, I'm Americano. You know what's weird?
What are you, Shane?
Today, Shane is Scottish, aren't you, Shane?
Yeah, I got Irish.
There's like so much pause here. What is this pause? Why aren't you answering the question?
Oh, I was flipping through Twitter. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was like, is he afraid to tell you what he is?
Oh, no. I was thinking maybe we traded for J.J. Watt to finish up our defense or something.
Oh, my gosh.
Didn't want to miss it.
Why? Something happened?
No. I just was looking through the notifications.
J.J. Stankevitz we got.
I thought J.J. was a home run tonight.
Oh, yeah. He answered every question. I thought I had to confront him, guys. When
the one stock answer was the Burton. Well, he can help out with the blocking. Well, no, not really.
I wanted to say that because I think our fans would be like, oh, man. They're probably saying it, too.
It'll work out perfectly because right before he came on, I essentially said verbatim before he said it what he would say about Mike Burton. I think it was pretty spot on. I think, well, hopefully he doesn't just say, well, you know, he can help out with the blocking game with Mitch a little bit, and they are roommates. I mean, he even brought that part up. So.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He brought it all up right down our fucking slippery slope. But I don't want to keep him on. This is some gold in here tonight. That was a lot of fun, Aldo.
Yeah.
Just feel the energy. So good, guys.
Yeah, it was.
Had a lot of laughs. All
right, get to work.
All right, brothers.
All right,
from
brothers.
mothers.
Later.
Bye-bye.
All right, now.
Oh my God, is this over yet?